Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Marvel. Start with God-level anti-armor at the beginning. Chapter 61. The power of venom can turn an ordinary person into a superhero in an instant, but its disadvantages are also obvious. After living with venom, the flaws in one's own character will be infinitely magnified. Even the so-called incarnation of justice like Spider-Man, after being symbiotic with venom, everyone will be blackened, not to mention the Hulk, who is already prone to anger. Somewhere among the huge amounts of bare mountains, in a hidden cave, Bruce Banner was wearing tattered clothes, with many bullet holes and burn marks, barefoot, sitting next to a pile of flames, watching. I feel a little lonely. Because of his body mutation, he turned into a Hulk. Unexpectedly, it led to an old case. At that time, his father was one of the core members of the research under General Ross. For the research, his father did not hesitate to use the body of his son, and his son were subjected to human experiments, resulting in a mutated gamma factor in his body. In extreme anger, Banner finally broke out and turned into a Hulk. Afterwards, General Ross sent troops to pursue him. The Hulk, who transformed for the first time, was not familiar with his power at all. In the midst of dense artillery fire and bullets, he could only choose to escape. After some pursuit, the Hulk escaped from the army. After hunting down, as the transformation was released, he gradually turned into a normal human being and hid in the cave. With the fire shining, Bruce Banner's figure stretched very long, but he failed to catch up. Not far behind him, a group of strange black matter was quietly approaching. Suo suo suo, ah. This mass of black matter is exactly the venom that escaped from the future technology. From the perception to the powerful anger that the Hulk first changed his voice. Watching Bruce Banner when he was weakest, he pounced on him. The firelight reflected on the mountain wall, which looked very strange. Bruce let out a strange howl, which seemed to be in great pain, and on his figure, chaotic and fragmented shadows were wrapped around. Ah, who? As Bruce cried out in pain, his voice gradually changed, becoming extremely angry and ferocious. Through the firelight, one could clearly see that the shadow on the mountain wall was rapidly growing in size, and his muscles were bulging, making him look extremely frightening. Roar! The other side. Boom! General Ross smashed the communicator in his hand to the ground, and it immediately fell apart, making everyone standing around him shudder and dare not speak at all. Waste! A bunch of waste! Ross roared. A mere Bruce Banner. I sent a large number of troops, helicopters, tanks, missiles, everything was used, and now not only did I not catch him, but I lost him. What use do I need you? General Ross, who got the news, was like an erupting volcano. No one dared to speak. A large number of troops hunted down a man, and finally let him escape alive. Everyone felt a little ashamed, but when they thought of the terrifying power of the Hulk, their hearts and full of fear. Just when Rose was furious, boom, the door was suddenly pushed open, and suddenly, a soldier broke in. The general is bad. That monster. He has appeared again, and has destroyed one of our bases. The terrified voice of the soldiers sounded, as if the gunpowder keg had been ignited. When everyone heard the news, their faces showed shocking expressions. Ross was still angry, and learned that the Hulk had appeared again and had destroyed a military base, which made his anger rise again. The soldiers quickly sent the video taken by the destroyed base to the office, and the picture clearly appeared in front of everyone. To everyone's surprise, the Hulk at the moment can no longer be described as green. He has turned dark green, and his normal face, at the moment, has become extremely ferocious, scarlet pupils, sharp fangs stained with saliva. Ah! Attack! No! Help! In the underground base, it was bombarded wildly by the crazy Hulk, and after all the attacks were ineffective. Many soldiers were tortured to death at his hands, and the screams before death shook everyone's minds. The picture freezes, and in the final picture sent back, there is only Hulk's ferocious face getting bigger and bigger under the camera, and the ferocity in his eyes, which made many people feel chills on their backs and shudder. Ross clenched his fists tightly and stared at the hideous giant face of the blackened Hulk that was finally framed on the screen. Although Ross was so angry that he couldn't add more, he still maintained a semblance of reason. His intuition told him that the current Black Hulk was somewhat different from the previous Hulk. Different, there is a bit more violence and cruelty in the eyes. Quote, dot. Where is he now? Ross gritted his teeth and asked. General, after killing all the soldiers in the base, the Hulk continued to smash for a long time, completely destroying the entire base before leaving, but we have tracked down his exact location. He is now heading toward New York. The soldier looked at Ross, who had calmed down, and felt the overwhelming anger from Ross's calm expression, Nuo Qian's, and after a little hesitation, he could only say so. Hearing the news that the Hulk was heading towards New York, the faces of the people present changed in shock. Once the Hulk really arrives in New York, it may cause a catastrophe. Jingle bell. The bell rang suddenly. Rose answered the phone, and his face changed significantly. Yes, I see. Sure. Good. After agreeing a few words, Ross hung up the phone, then looked up and swept everyone. His eyes were like blade, and full of anger. The higher-ups already know about this matter, and issued a death order. No matter what the price is, stop the Hulk from entering New York City. Send me all the troops to supplement the defense on the Hulk's only way. As long as they can breathe, they will all be dispatched. With Ross's order, soon, a large number of troops were quickly mobilized, and dozens of helicopters roared, constantly transporting a large number of soldiers to set up defenses on the way the Hulk was about to go to New York, waiting for the Hulk to come, and then sniping. Where's the sonic cannon? Are they all in place? Lengthen the line of defense. Air-to-air missiles are all ready. The orders were issued one after another, and Rose mobilized all the forces he could mobilize, all of which were intercepted on the only way the Hulk had to pass. Soon, in the distant sky, a huge black figure quickly jumped. After all, each jump is a distance of several kilometers, and the powerful explosive force of the black figure's landing made the ground tremble endlessly. Here we come. Everyone is ready. The black figure of the Hulk, after all. Everyone was very nervous. The frontline commander shouted, and all kinds of special powerful weapons were fully charged, and they were quickly aiming to lock on the figure of the Hulk. Many soldiers who had never seen the Hulk gasped in unison after seeing the huge figure that was getting closer and closer. It is too big. At the moment, Hulk is several times larger than when he transformed for the first time, and the green color is no longer visible all over his body, and he is covered in black venom, and the venom has changed, growing a lot of ferocious giant thorns. Like a piece of armor, it wraps the Hulk in its entirety, except for a pair of scarlet eyes, full of bloodthirsty murderous intent and boundless anger, making people afraid to look at it. Sir, we saw him. What is this thing? Some soldiers saw the appearance of the Hulk clearly, and couldn't help asking the commander. The unknown enemy is the most terrifying. Launch an attack. Following the commander's order, huge firepower exploded in an instant, covering the Hulk. Boom! A self-guided shell exploded beside the Hulk, and the smoke and dust rose into the sky, causing many people to open their eyes wide, wanting to see clearly the situation after the explosion. Roar! An angry roar that didn't sound like a human voice sounded, and the huge amounts of black figure swelled a little again, rushing out of the smoke and dust, holding a huge amounts of rock in his hand. The scarlet eyes stared at the tanks and troops in front of him, and the Hulk's eyes became even more angry. His arm muscles bulged violently. He lifted huge amounts of rocks, and then threw it with all his might. Tons of huge boulders crossed a beautiful branch line, and with unparalleled strength, they fell rapidly towards the numerous positions of soldiers. Get out! Seeing the Hulk's straightforward counterattack, the commander shouted loudly, and many soldiers who reacted quickly had already evaded, but the soldiers among the tanks and giant weapons were not so lucky. Boom! The boulder fell to the ground, directly smashing the tank and a sonic cannon, and then caused an explosion. A large amount of earth, rocks and flames flew randomly, affecting many people. For a while, the battlefield became chaotic. Although the Hulk is possessed by venom, his instincts still exist. He has suffered from sonic attacks before, and Venom is quite afraid of sonic attacks, so before the sonic cannon can get its power, he takes the lead in destroying it. Rescue the wounded, cover fire. Faced with such a situation, the commander still kept calm and calmly issued the order. The request he got was to do whatever it takes, otherwise the Hulk would go one step further. Before the next wave of attacks can be launched, the Hulk not far away has gone completely berserk and turned into a siege catapult. A large number of boulders have been turned into bombs by the Hulk. Just throwing them at will can cause huge amounts of damage to the army. Threaten. Dodge. Flying stones fell all over the sky, CBFA, and the commander had no choice but to issue orders. As the rain of stones became more and more dense, casualties in the positions increased. Many tanks and heavy fire weapons were all buried, causing unimaginable losses. General Ross, our position has been breached by the Hulk, and his attack method is too ferocious. We can't resist it. A large number of soldiers left tanks and chariots and began to evacuate, and the commander had no choice but to report to Ross. Rose's face was ugly, and the situation on the front line was all seen through feedback, which made him furious. He was sure that when the Hulk transformed for the first time, he definitely did not have such a strong defense and combat power. With the change of body color, the Hulk's strength, defense and speed doubled, and the first line of defense was defeated as soon as it came into contact. It's all rice buckets, Ross roared angrily, but he felt a sense of powerlessness in his heart. The current Hulk is no longer something that can be dealt with by ordinary missiles and combat weapons. In his opinion, if he wants to really kill the Hulk, he may need to use nuclear warheads. However, now the green scriptures are gradually approaching, and they are crazily destroying the battlefield just now, smashing all the chariots and tanks completely, venting the anger in their hearts. If they use weapons like nuclear warheads in this position, let alone not being approved, the consequences of using it alone are not something he, a general, can bear. General, the Hulk has come to our second line of defense. A fierce firefight is in progress. General, the second defense zone is in an emergency. Our weapons can't kill him, and his size has grown and become even more violent. General, the second line of defense suffered heavy casualties, and all soldiers are being evacuated urgently. As the news was transmitted in time, Rose's face became more and more gloomy. If the speed of the Hulk was followed, the defense line they deployed would be difficult to achieve, let alone resist his footsteps, or even cause damage to him. Jingle bell. The phone rang in a hurry, making Ross frown. After hanging up the phone, Ross's face became even more ugly. This was another order from the superior. Seeing the Hulk approaching, the superior already felt the threat. A mutant must not be allowed to cause harm to New York, any damage. At the same time, a piece of news was broadcast on all the screens in New York. The monster has appeared and is approaching New York. If the situation is critical, please be prepared, obey the command, and don't be greedy for property. Lin Yu also saw this news. Seeing the blurry black figure on the news, he was taken aback. Isn't this guy Bruce Banner? But when Lin Yu saw the black armor on Hulk's body, Lin Yu's eyes as soon as he condensed, he instantly recognized the origin of the armor. It seems that you ran very fast. You found a big man to possess you so quickly. Now you want to come back and trouble me. Lin Yu sneered secretly. The Hulk was possessed by venom, and now he is approaching New York, probably also affected by the venom, and he is going to come back to seek revenge on himself. Jingle bell. The ringtone of the mobile phone brought Lin Yu back to his senses. Brother Lin, the venom samples in the laboratory have mutated and become extremely active. Should we take measures? Lin Yu was taken aback by Ophelia's surprised voice, and then laughed. No, this guy has already returned, and 9 out of 10 are coming for me. Lin Yu said with a smile. Huh, then do we need? No, I can catch it once, and I can catch him a second time. Looking at the broadcast in the news, Lin Yu already had a plan. After hanging up the communication, he quietly left New York and flew quickly in the direction mentioned in the news. Soon, Lin Yu felt the thick energy fluctuation not far ahead, as well as the constant roar. Possessed Hulk, looks like you're a lot smarter. Lin Yu sneered secretly. Although the Hulk is strong, the more angry he is, the stronger his power will be. In principle, he is almost invincible, but in front of Lin Yu, this principle will be broken. Lin Yu has already landed slowly, and through the observation from the high altitude, the front line has been pulled up, and a large number of troops are assembled, just to stop the Hulk from moving forward, but now it seems that the situation is not optimistic. Stop. There are monsters in front of you. This place is under martial law, no one can pass. In front of Lin Yu, several armed soldiers soon appeared, surrounded him and ordered Lin Yu to retreat. I came here just for this matter. Tell General Ross, I am Carl Lin Yu, the chairman of Future Technology. That monster, our future technology can help the military deal with it. Lin Yu's handsome face was indifferent but confident, which stunned the soldiers surrounding him. Many people knew about the young legendary chairman of Future Technology, and now Lin Yu was standing in front of them, also said that it can deal with that monster. They all had some hesitation on their faces, and they all knew Ross's violent temper. If Lin Yu entered rashly, they might be overwhelmed. There was a lot of news, even Ross was powerless in the face of the Hulk. "Mr. Lin, please wait a moment, I need to report." One of the soldiers spoke to Lin Yu after a little hesitation, and quickly turned and left, entering the barracks. "General, someone wants to meet you. He is Carl Lin Yu, the chairman of Future Technology." In the heavy and oppressive command center, the soldiers bit the bullet and came in and said to Ross. Rose's face changed, and his anger rose. "Soldier, is this your first day of combat? On the battlefield, any idlers, etc., get out of here." After being scolded by Ross, the soldier was beating drums in his heart, but he continued. He said that Future Technology has the ability to deal with that monster, and he wants to see you. Hearing what the soldiers said, the faces of everyone in the command room changed subtly. Future Technology has cooperated with the military a lot, and the situation is urgent now. As the chairman of Future Technology, he will never go to the front line aimlessly. Rose was taken aback, and after a brief silence, he said to the soldiers, "Let him go to the temporary conference room, I want to see him." Soon, Lin Yu entered the temporary headquarters under the leadership of the soldiers, and met Ross in the meeting room. Although Rose has half 100 hair and is not young, but his body is still upright and straight, showing 10 iron-blooded demeanor. "General Ross, hello, I have heard the name of General Ross for a long time. Mr. Chairman Lin Yu, you said that there is a way to deal with that monster." Seeing the handsome and youthful Lin Yu, Ross was taken aback for a moment, recovered quickly, and asked. Lin Yu nodded. Future Technology not only has strong financial resources and strong strength, but also has some core technologies, and one of them happens to be enough to cope with the current situation. Ross let out a cold snort heavily, looking at Lin Yu. His eyes were blazing brightly, and the oppressive aura rose up, and he moved towards Lin Yu oppressively. "My army suffered great losses when facing that monster." "What do you mean? My army is not as good as your future technological products." Lin Yu sat on the chair casually, facing Rose's powerful aura without any wavering. Even his eyes didn't change at all. He was still so casual. An ordinary person, even a general, was nothing more than an ant to Lin Yu with ordinary existence. How could dragon care about the aura of ants? If you want to understand it this way, it's not impossible. Hearing Lin Yu's indifferent words, Ross's momentum soared, and he almost couldn't bear it anymore. He attacked Lin Yu. Now his army was utterly baffled by the Hulk, and his superiors even issued a death order, which made him very angry. "When you get here, you have to endure Lin Yu's ridicule." "Mr. Lin Yu, the military situation is urgent now, please leave immediately, and we will settle the account after this matter is over." Ross suppressed his anger, spoke coldly, and was ready to see off the guests. Lin Yu smiled slightly. "General Ross, do you really think that you can stop that monster with your army? At that time, when he breaks through your defenses and destroys New York wildly, even if you are a general, I'm afraid you won't be able to stop that monster. People can protect you." Being ridiculed mercilessly by Lin Yu again, the anger in Rose's heart became even hotter, but deep down in his heart, he also knew that what Lin Yu said was the truth. The current Hulk, facing any bombardment, would not have didn't have the slightest impact, and it was much stronger than he expected. If it develops like this first, the Hulk will break through the defense and rush to the New York City area for sure. "What do you want?" The anger in Rose's heart slowly calmed down. Looking at the young man in front of him, he felt a little powerless, but tried to stay calm, and asked in a cold voice. "Future Technology has enough strength to deal with this monster, but this involves the company's core secrets, and no one can spy on it. Besides, I am a businessman, and I don't have enough interests. It is impossible to do a loss-making business. This monster is worth studying." There was a smile on Lin Yu's face. The current situation, no matter what, couldn't help Ross not giving in. "Impossible." Ross refused without any hesitation. The Hulk is the crystallization of his decades of research, and he absolutely cannot allow anyone to get involved. No matter what, Ross can't hand over the Hulk. "Then there's nothing to talk about, General Ross. Goodbye. Have a good time." Lin Yu secretly smiled inwardly. He asked for the Hulk just to test Rose's bottom line. Rose's face turned red. The young man in front of him was so confident that he couldn't help being startled. When he saw Lin Yu trying to leave, he was so annoyed that he still had to say, "Wait. Mr. Lin, this monster caused I have suffered too much loss, I can't hand him over to you, and I can't make the decision, as for other conditions, we can talk about it." The smile came back to Lin Yu's face. "Good. The military situation is urgent. The Hulk has been destroying all the way, destroying the defense line arranged by Ross again and again, and it has approached a lot, but soon everyone received an order, all evacuated for 50 kilometers, and deployed the entire line of defense outside the suburbs of New York." Facing the menacing Hulk, everyone was very puzzled, but they still strictly followed Ross's order, not only evacuating all defense lines, but also evacuating all kinds of high-altitude monitoring equipment. Looking at the evacuated army, a smile appeared on Lin Yu's face. Thinking of the pain on Rose's face when the terms were negotiated just now, Lin Yu laughed a lot. In the end, the old and the young reached an agreement, and future technology guaranteed to remove the threat of the Hulk. At that time, the Hulk would be handed over to the military. As for the intermediate process, it involves the core secrets of future technology, and no one is allowed to peep at it. After future technology makes these, Ross needs to pay enough. These remunerations naturally include sky-high funds, which is so huge that Ross is heartbroken and cursed in his heart. Moreover, there are other conditions and preferential policies for future technology and military cooperation, which are enough to allow future technology to obtain huge benefits. "Young man, if you dare to deceive me, or fail in the end, your best result is to be shot to death by me, and the worst is to spend the rest of your life in prison. Pick up soap with you, understand?" When Ross left, he threatened Lin Yu fiercely, but the smile on Lin Yu's face made Ross feel powerless. Hastily withdrew all the arrangements. Even the angry Hulk felt confused and unusual. The violent offensive stopped, did not continue to destroy the empty defense line in front of him, and couldn't help but look around. "Are you looking for me?" In the sky, a ray of golden light traversed the sky and paused above the Hulk's head. Lin Yu's figure emerged, surrounded by a golden mist, which set him off awe-inspiring and powerful. The Hulk was taken aback, the black armor on his body fluctuated rapidly, and he seemed very angry. He was imprisoned after being defeated by Lin Yu, and finally escaped. Now that he has a powerful host, Venom is confident that he can fight against Lin Yu, so naturally he will not show fear. The black matter flowed like water, wrapping and completely covering the Hulk's head, and then slowly changed, turning into a ferocious giant face with dense fangs, and an angry roar burst out. "What are you yelling for? I've been looking for you for a long time, next time I'll definitely tie you down." Lin Yu looked at the Venom roaring at her, with the smile on her face still. The Venom became even more angry. Lin Yu's tone seemed to say, "My dog was lost, and I finally found you. Next time I will tie you up and raise you, making it unacceptable. You, today, will die." A strange sound came from the ferocious giant face, like the sound of glass rubbing against each other. It was very ear-piercing and made people feel extremely uncomfortable. Lin Yu was taken aback for a moment. Unexpectedly, this alien visitor had already learned the language of the Earth not long after he came to Earth, and was able to barely express himself. "Well, it seems that you have possessed a big man, which made you swell a lot. It's okay, this time, I won't give you another chance." Lin Yu sneered. Venom has a strong self-awareness, so it's much easier to handle. He doesn't have to worry about not being able to communicate at that time. As long as he uses strong strength to crush him, let Venom truly fear and surrender to him, it will be. The golden light converged, and Lin Yu turned into a phantom, which shot out from the air. Facing the Black Hulk with a size difference of more than 10 times, Lin Yu didn't have the slightest fear, and punched out with all his strength. The powerful repulsive force on the fist also gathered gravity, forming a mass of bursting airflow. As long as it touches it, it will explode. When Venom saw Lin Yu attacking with a punch, he let out a hearty roar. After he possessed the Hulk, he was very aware of the Hulk's powerful power, and what the Hulk is most afraid of is hand-to-hand combat. The body swelled violently, and the huge amounts of black fist were almost the same size as Lin Yu's. Facing Lin Yu's fist, the Hulk punched out. Boom! Lin Yu descended from the sky. His body possessed powerful momentum, and invisible gravitational and repulsive fields were brewing on his fists, and electric currents flickered on his body from time to time, making him look like a god. And the armor on the Black Hulk on the ground was ferocious. Yang Tian let out a roar, and suddenly punched and bombarded, trying to break through the sky. A powerful airflow overflowed and exploded. Lin Yu retreated with his strength and landed firmly on the ground, while the Hulk's figure was completely shrouded in smoke and dust, making it hard to see clearly. When the smoke and dust diffused, the armor on the Black Hulk remained the same, and it was even more terrifying, but at his position, a large pit had appeared on the ground, and the Hulk's feet were knee-deep into the hard earth and rocks. Roar! With a roar, the Hulk pulled out his legs, causing a large amount of earth and rocks to splash again. Seeing the intact Lin Yu with a relaxed and casual face, the Venom was burning with anger. I didn't expect this human being to master the powerful fire ability. The strength of the body are so terrifying, comparable to the Hulk he possesses. Although the Venom is now leading this body to fight, the anger of the Venom will also become the driving force of the Hulk. The exaggerated to frightening body shape will continue to stimulate the Hulk under the furious anger of the Venom, causing his body to expand again. After a few minutes, almost reaching a height of 10 meters, Lin Yu stood opposite the Hulk, like a little guy. Give me, die. The Venom in anger made a sharp sound, which was much smoother than before, which surprised Lin Yu, and secretly lamented that the learning ability of this alien visitor is really not ordinary powerful. Little thing, don't be so excited, I'll take care of you later and send you off for 10 or 8 years. Lin Yu didn't take it seriously, and continued to mock Venom. For the Hulk, although Lin Yu is casual on the surface, he still pays enough attention to it in his heart. He also wants to see what kind of level the Venom can achieve after possessing the Hulk. You must know that the Venom has the ability to learn and can copy the host part of the ability. He is now constantly stimulating the Hulk. The more abilities the Venom absorbs, and the more effective the Venom will be when the Venom is recovered. The Hulk was berserk, hitting Lin Yu with huge amounts of unparalleled strength, and wanted to crush Lin Yu, but Lin Yu's strength was also beyond imagination, and even if the Hulk was tough, he would not fall behind. Even with the flexible use of repulsion and gravity, the Hulk suffered a lot. Boom! The huge body fell heavily under the action of gravity, smashing a tank that was too late to withdraw, but the Hulk just shook his head, and stood up again, without any injuries on his body, but became even more angry. The look of interest in Lin Yu's eyes became more and more intense. The Hulk is a good opponent. After repeated rages, his strength has reached a very frightening level, and the hard tank armor can be torn apart in front of him. Fortunately, Ross didn't see this scene. If he saw it, Ross would be even more powerless, and he wouldn't attack the Hulk in the future. Such a humanoid tyrannosaur is enough to easily disintegrate an elite army on the battlefield. Well, the warm-up match is over. After a hand-to-hand fight with the Hulk, the originally well-arranged battlefield was in chaos. The military vehicles and tanks that were too late to withdraw had already been destroyed by Lin Yu and the Hulk, and turned into strange piles of scrap iron. There are potholes everywhere, as if they have been baptized by violent artillery fire. After some fighting, Lin Yu has gained a lot of energy value, and she is satisfied with this, and she is ready to stop entangled with Hulk mania, and it is time to end it. Hearing Lin Yu's words, feeling the sudden huge aura rising from Lin Yu's body, even the Hulk, who lost his mind in anger, instinctively stopped roaring, and stared nervously at the opponent in front of him. The flames rose up and instantly turned into a sea of flames, completely covering Lin Yu and the Hulk. The Venom armor on the outside of the Hulk's body still felt a little uncomfortable in the face of the blazing heat, and instinctively wanted to retreat, but the Venom had completely resisted the roar, and the armor not only did not shrink, but became sharper. Using the same ability again, the damage to him has been weakened a lot. Lin Yu is a little bit emotional. The ability of Venom is 2 against the sky, although it is afraid of high temperature and vibration sound, but if it is exposed to such an environment for a long time, it will become more and more powerful to adapt to the ability and resistance. This is the second time to use Black Fire. The resistance of the Venom has increased a lot. But Lin Yu is not worried. No matter how strong the Venom is, there is an upper limit, and his ability depends on the energy value he outputs to determine the strength. The sea of flames suddenly became more than several times blazing, and the temperature reached an incomparably horrifying level at once. The ground covered by the sea of flames turned red and softened almost instantly, turning into fiery magma. The battlefield between the two was like a world of flames. A large amount of earth and rocks melted and turned into scorching magma, making even Venom fearful. Lin Yu smiled slightly, and a cold long knife appeared in his hand, with a moon-white light looming on it, making one's heart palpitate. This knife that was previously snatched from mutant is very good, and it can infuse powerful energy without breaking. In order to deal with Hulk, a rough-skinned and thick-skinned guy, Lin Yu specially brought it here. The unparalleled sharpness condensed, and the moon-white light gradually blazed. In the black sea of flames, the Venom armor on the Hulk, stimulated by this sharpness, shook unceasingly, and it felt the ultimate threat. Facing the crazy warning in his mind, Venom was so startled that he didn't know what to say. It couldn't understand why the human being on the opposite side was so perverted. Not only did he master the ability of flame, which can completely defeat it, but he also knew how to use sound waves to deal with it. It, now, presents another deadly danger. Lin Yu didn't care about the idea of Venom at all. At a certain moment, the energy in his hand gathered to a terrifying level, a dazzling light flashed, and a white light blade was concentrated to the point that it almost turned into substance. In this moonlight slash, Lin Yu invested a huge amount of energy value regardless of the consumption, and prepared to do meritorious service with one blow. Just now, he had a hand-to-hand fight with the Hulk, which made the Hulk angry to a certain extent. The strength shown in the battle with Lin Yu is getting stronger and stronger. For the Hulk, Lin Yu has a very clear understanding. If he can't do meritorious service in one blow, Hulk will become stronger and stronger by then, which will get him into trouble. Therefore, he must do his best in one blow and take the lead to defeat the Hulk. Brush. Seeing the moonlight slash approaching rapidly, it continued to expand after erupting, and turned into a towering blade light in a blink of an eye, and even the Venom made a horrified scream. Under this blade light, Venom felt an extremely powerful sense of danger. The armor shrank rapidly, tightly fitting on the Hulk's body, and constantly urged the Hulk's original ability to blow a huge amount on the ground. All the rocks were lifted up and smashed to the ground, hoping to block part of the sword light. At the same time, countless spider webs spewed out from the Black Hulk and shot in all directions. Each spider web burst out with full force of venom and possessed strong toughness, but in an instant, layers of barriers were built to consume the blade light. The terrifying energy in it. Lin Yu looked at all the actions of Venom indifferently. Once the moonlight slash is launched, it will lock the enemy. It is simply unrealistic for Venom to use these small means to stop it. Sure enough, the sword light approached, and the layers of tough spider webs made an overwhelmed sizzling sound under the incomparably sharp sword light, and they all collapsed without any obstruction. Roar! The Venom roared, and as the sword light approached, he could only shrink as much as he could, controlling the Hulk to hide his body behind the huge rock erected in front of him as much as possible, and then crossed his hands. Most of the defensive power of the armor was concentrated on the arms, layers keep covering. Seeing no weakness at all, the knife light directly slashed into the huge rock. After a crisp sound, the rock exploded, completely turning into countless fine pebbles, and finally bombarded the Hulk with his arms crossed. At this moment, under Lin Yu's will, the huge blade light finally showed the peerless edge that moonlight slash should have. Crack! Under the light of the blade, the armor formed by the Venom made an overwhelmed sound of breaking, and then a large number of cracks were densely covered, and then exploded. In the next second, the green blood splashed violently, the armor formed by the Venom flew, and the blade glow directly poured into the Hulk's arm, erupting instantly. However, the Venom defended with all its strength, coupled with the Hulk's original strong defense, finally managed to resist the blade glow forcefully, and was not split in two by this peerless blade glow. Comparable. Countless shattered blades exploded and slashed on the Hulk. The armor formed by the Venom couldn't bear it at all, and it was broken in an instant, leaving countless wounds on the Hulk, and the broken armor was covered with green blood. Under the fatal blow, even though most of Hulk's mind was controlled by the Venom, he still felt threatened. The intense pain caused him to escape from the control of the Venom, his body shook violently, and a look of his own appeared in his eyes. Not Bruce Banner, but Hulk. Roar! Hit hard! Hulk snarls, who is he? Invincible Hulk, how can you allow someone else to beat you? Terrible power erupted, and Hulk didn't care about the injuries on his body, which would heal quickly in front of his Hulk. But soon, Hulk found out angrily, because this was only his second awakening, the weak Bruce Banner couldn't adapt to this change at all. Part of the damage he received would be fed back to Banner, and at the moment Banner couldn't bear it anymore. This kind of heavy injury, Hulk already felt that Banner was dragging his legs in his body, wanting to take his weak body from the new plug world as a servant. Ah! Hulk let out an unwilling roar, wanting to erupt, but his swollen body began to shrink rapidly. No matter how hard he struggled, it was difficult to reverse this process. But in just a dozen seconds, the huge amounts of Hulk turned back into a normal file size and became Bruce Banner, and there was a terrible knife wound between his chest and abdomen, and there were many wounds all over his body. Big file size and small wound, lying on the ground straight, eyes closed. To die so easily. Lin Yu felt the Hulk faint and muttered something to himself, but soon, Lin Yu realized that he was thinking too much. As Banner, who is one with the Hulk and has two sides, his human body also has the elements of the Hulk, and his vitality is strong. Although the recovery ability is not as good as Hulk, it is not weak. Although it looks miserable now, Lin Yu can keenly feel that his body is slowly healing. With this recovery ability, Banner will not be able to die for a while. Zhao. In a blink of an eye, Lin Yu had already arrived in front of the black venom. With a movement of the long knife in his hand, the bright and clean light of the knife hesitated. Venom, are you sure you still want to resist? I only give you one chance. Surrender to me, or die while continuing to resist. Remember, my patience is limited. As a highly intelligent alien life, Venom is not a regenerative healing factor. After finding the host of the Hulk, Venom was extremely excited because it found that even the most powerful king of its kind on the planet it was born on is not as good as Hulk, that terrifying power. However, even if it teamed up with the almost invincible Hulk in its eyes, it was almost cut in two by the man in front of it. Now, Venom has been severely injured. Facing Lin Yu's aura, he couldn't help trembling a little. Although he is a symbiont, he also has extremely high intelligence, knows fear, and even their desire to survive is stronger than humans. Even stronger. The Venom releases the emotion of fear, shrinks continuously, and gathers tightly together. Feeling the fear of the Venom, Lin Yu had a smile on his face, and released a position to completely wrap the Venom. From now on, you will surrender to me, and I will help you find a suitable host. In the frozen position, the Venom has no unnecessary changes, and has become much more obedient. At the same time, there is an emotion of surrender to Lin Yu. After being separated from the host, the Venom cannot speak, but it can communicate with Lin Yu through this strange way. Lin Yu communicated, but Lin Yu was a little surprised. Putting away the Venom, Lin Yu looked at Bruce, who has become a normal person. Banner, Bruce at the moment. Banner's injuries have stabilized and his breathing is stable. Although he is in a coma, he will wake up naturally soon, because the transformed the relationship. He was naked, looked a little embarrassed. Lin Yu knew that after Banner woke up, he couldn't remember what happened when he turned into a Hulk, so he wasn't worried about exposing his ability. The Venom, which has shrunk down to the size of a baby's fist, stretched out a strange tentacle, trying to touch Lin Yu's body. Lin Yu was taken aback, but did not stop him. There was a thorn armor in his body, and it was not something that Venom could control. The black tentacles touched Lin Yu's skin, which made Lin Yu froze, and immediately felt a lot of information from the Venom. This information includes the origin and characteristics of the Venom. The Venom comes from a special planet in a distant galaxy. The same family of the Venom lives on this planet. Their lives are very strange. As long as they do not leave the parent star, they can exist independently, and once away, it is ready to live in symbiosis with the host. Well, it's not bad. Now you have copied some abilities of Spider-Man and Hulk. As long as you have a suitable host, you should be able to become very strong, right? CBEA. Lin Yu slowly digested the information fed back by the Venom, with a smile on his face. After coexisting with Spider-Man and the Hulk, the Venom has absorbed a lot of abilities. As long as this ability finds a suitable host again, the Venom it can be assigned directly. What excites Lin Yu the most is that the life of Venom is quite special. It can reproduce itself regardless of gender. This also means that after he recovers the Venom, after a period of cultivation, more Venom will be born. General, the explosion has stopped. Tens of kilometers apart, the army that had set up defense lines just in case reported to Ross, making Ross look a little serious. It would be fine if future technology subdued the Hulk. He only paid some benefits. If future technology is not the Hulk opponents, that happened because of it. Tight defense. Yes. Soon, a military vehicle that was still in good condition roared and appeared in the distance, attracting Rose's attention, and at the same time everyone was very nervous. The military vehicle drove directly in front of Ross without the slightest hesitation. After seeing the scene clearly, the expression on Ross's face gradually relaxed. "What you want is in the car, General." There was no dust on Lin Yu's body. She jumped out of the car with a smile and greeted Ross. And Rose had already seen Bruce Banner in a coma and naked in the car. "How did you do it?" Even though there was an agreement, Ross still couldn't help asking. The Hulk was defeated by the core achievement of future technology. Not only him, but everyone who knew it was curious. "General, I have already handed over the man to you, and the next thing has nothing to do with me. I hope you can fulfill our agreement in the future." Lin Yu naturally wouldn't say a word, and changed the subject with a smile, which made Ross's teeth itch with hatred, but he was a little suspicious and apprehensive about the future technology in his heart. Lin Yu, who smiled casually, quietly changed his position in Ross's mind. "Don't worry, I have never regretted what I said. Young man, you are very good." Although he had some prejudice against Lin Yu, after a long while, Roth nodded and praised her. Lin Yu didn't stay for long. Ross's attitude towards him has changed. He has become a lot more polite. This is also the effect he wants. Future technology is used as a cover to make the military suspicious and fearful. In this way, it will not follow the old path of Osborne industry and be preyed by the military. And now the development of future technology is quite rapid. Even if one day the military knows the truth and wants to make ideas about future technology, they will find that future technology has become an unimaginable behemoth. Soon, according to the agreement, Ross delivered a lot of future technology benefits, and at the request of Ross, the military stepped up cooperation with future technology. Too much turmoil, so far slowly calmed down. With further contact with the military, the power of future technology to speak in front of many giant companies of the same type is also increasing day by day, which makes many established companies very afraid and asks about the tricks. It's too late to hide, let alone let these companies get the slightest bit of wind. Taking this opportunity, Lin Yu arranged a series of measures. He did not hesitate to spend a lot of money, and began to contact many powerful politicians and officials. With the ambiguous relationship with the military, these people naturally became a member of the big ship of future technology. Lin Yu's power is also getting bigger and bigger, and it has developed rapidly in a short period of time, which makes many giants a little uneasy. Chairman, on the military side, there are 3 high-ranking officials who have become our people. In Lin Yu's office, Commander respectfully said that he has a strong ability and has won Lin Yu's trust. As a spokesperson for the secret future technology and contact with various government forces, his work efficiency has not disappointed Lin Yu. Very good. Keep in touch. But these things must be kept secret. Lin Yu said with a smile on his face. Now the company has huge funds, and the main industry remains unchanged, but many researches can increase investment. In addition, we can get involved in other industries. Standing in front of Lin Yu, Commander was shocked when he heard Lin Yu's order. Now that future technology is already one of the top giants in the main industry, the chairman actually wants to get involved in other industries. Except for the industries that will focus on future technology, we don't have enough manpower and scientific research results, but we have money. Do you understand what I mean? With a smile on Lin Yu's face, Commander quickly understood that what is lacking in future technology, just buy it with money. Yes, Chairman, I'll do it soon. Well, let Wanda come here, she is more familiar with the company than I am, let her take me around, I haven't looked at it very well. Lin Yu's heart moved, and she said to Commander. Soon, Wanda appeared in front of Lin Yu. Brother Lin. I was also on the spur of the moment, you can accompany me to walk around, go and see Ophelia's technical department first. Lin Yu smiled casually, staying in the company all day long, all the trivial matters were handled by his subordinates. After he took over as the chairman, he hardly understood it carefully. The elevator went down all the way, and soon came to the research floor of the building. This floor concentrated all the core research of future technology, and it was the most critical place for future technology. Ophelia, The chairman is here. Wanda was the first to inform Ophelia that at the moment Ophelia had already brought a group of top scientific research team members waiting at the entrance of the research center. Lin Yu smiled slightly. Among a large number of staff, Lin Yu only knew Ophelia and Dr. Otto. Ophelia, tell me about the research process of nanorobots. Ophelia smiled slightly, and brought Lin Yu to the research room quickly, where there were many instruments in operation. Chairman, this is OG-22, our 22nd generation research result has matured, would you like to try it? Wanda took out a hat with a weird shape and showed it in front of Lin Yu. OG-22 adopts our latest nano-robot technology, and is also connected to the brain-wave control technology researched by Dr. Otto. As long as you wear it, you can control a large number of nano-robots to perform some simple instructions, but for the use of the requirements of the readers are a bit harsh. Under the introduction of Ophelia, Lin Yu put on the helmet, a low-frequency electric current flashed, and Lin Yu was able to perceive a black cube in Ophelia's hand, and through brain waves connected with it. These are all nano-robots, Chairman, you can control their shapes arbitrarily just through brain waves. With Lin Yu's mind moving, the cube in Ophelia's hand immediately disintegrated, turning into a substance like fine sand, which fell to the ground through Ophelia's fingertips, and then, the ball of fine sand fell under Lin Yu's intention, gathered slowly, and then turned into a line of letters, future technology. Amidst the surprised eyes of everyone, Lin Yu moved again, and the fine sand spread into a palm, saying hello to everyone, and then the palm melted, and the fine sand reorganized, slowly synthesizing a stool. Wanda, try it. Lin Yu smiled slightly and said to Wanda. Wanda looked at the stool made of nano-robots in front of her, and sat on it curiously. Although it was a little wobbly, under the control of Lin Yu's mental power, it quickly stabilized. Boss, it's amazing. Feeling the soft touch under her body, Wang Mi smiled and said. When Wanda got up, the fine sand spread, instantly covering her legs, completely enveloping them. The fine sand spread all the way, and soon formed a pair of pants, completely setting off Wanda's beautiful long legs. Seeing this scene, everyone applauded. It was Lin Yu's first attempt to control nano-robots through brain waves, and he was able to do this, which has exceeded their expectations. Wanda's face was a little crimson. The nano-robot controlled by Lin Yu was not honest. The fine black particles like gravel were like a palm, inadvertently scratched her sensitive buttocks, making her body tremble slightly, but she didn't take any further actions after that. 0. At the moment Lin Yu's perception, through the brain wave link, the nano-robot is like an extension of his own body. He can drive the nano-robot to change according to his own mind, and at the same time, the things that the nano-robot touches will also have a real touch feedback. At the moment just now, the astonishing elasticity of Wanda's buttocks made Lin Yu almost lose control of the nano-robots. It's very good, but it still can't achieve the feeling of being directed by an arm, and it's a bit heavy on the user's brain. After Lin Yu tested it, he expressed a pertinent opinion, but many researchers looked at Lin Yu with surprise in their eyes. Chairman, the nano-robot technology is still under development. None of us have been able to use it for so long like you, and have achieved this step. Ophelia smiled and explained Lin Yu's doubts, and Lin Yu quickly realized that controlling nano-robots requires strong mental power, and his mental power has been strengthened several times. Far beyond ordinary people, the test just now did not make him feel any discomfort. The brain wave control technology in nanorobots is not yet mature, and we have encountered many problems, but in this area, Dr. Otto should be a top researcher. Ophelia smiled and said that she did not take credit for Lin Yu's praise, but mentioned Dr. Otto fan. For Dr. Otto, Lin Yu also paid a lot of attention. His research on energy is already very amazing, and his octopus claw can not only be well combined through brain waves, but also has self-consciousness, which is also to let Lin Yu admired it very much. Chairman, the brain is too mysterious. My own research on the brainwave connection and control of nano-robots is not perfect enough. As a rigorous scientist, Dr. Otto admitted his shortcomings without any concealment. However, as far as I know, Osborne Industries' research includes brainwave control, and Stark Industry, they have been working hard on brainwave control of external armor. If we can get the 543 results of their research as a reference, I believe that there will be a great breakthrough in the research of nanorobots. Hearing Dr. Otto's words, Lin Yu smiled slightly. Osborne Industry. That is already in his pocket. As for Stark Industry, it is not a big problem to pay a certain price based on his friendship with Tony, but there is a premise: after Tony comes back from Afghanistan. Well, there's no problem. I'll have someone send over Osborne Industries' research on brainwave control today. As for Stark Industry, I'll leave it to you later. Lin Yu immediately made a decision, which surprised and delighted everyone. What about the research on biological sciences? How is your research on the bone I brought back last time? Lin Yu's mind moved, and he remembered the fire dragon he had killed before. We have already extracted part of the organic matter, but the genes in it are very complicated and have amazing activity. As long as we can decipher part of it, I believe it will shock the entire biological research community. One of the researchers stood up and looked at Lin Dao a little angrily. Lin Yu nodded. When it comes to biological research, he has quite a few suitable candidates for Commanda to recruit. Taking the notebook in Wanda's hand casually, Lin Yu wrote down 2 names. Dr. Zhao Helen, Seoul Lujin Institute of Genetics. Dr. Samuel Stern, Professor of Biology, University of California, New York, the United States. Wanda, come down and ask Commanda to contact these 2 people. They both have quite a lot of research in biological sciences. If you can recruit. Lin Yu didn't say much. Wanda nodded. The blush on her face hadn't completely subsided. As Lin Yu's personal secretary, she naturally understood the meaning. After a brief understanding of some progress, Lin Yu is quite satisfied. As long as one of these scientific research projects is successful, it will cause quite a stir, not only huge economic benefits but also worldwide attention. Afterwards, Lin Yu and Wanda left the first floor of the research center and inspected other researches one after another, especially the products that cooperated with the military, and Lin Yu paid enough attention to them. Well, there is no problem with our development direction. Remember, we are not executioners. There is no need to directly manufacture weapons like Stark Industry. However, other military industries can also bring us great benefits, such as military communications, monitoring instruments, etc. If possible, I hope to see military satellites printed with future technology icons go to the sky this year. In Lin Yu's conception, cooperation with the military does not necessarily require the research of technologically powerful weapons. Apart from weapons, the military also has many other essential items. Most companies that cooperate with the military now only focus on weapon development and research, but they do the opposite. Except for weapons, they do everything that is needed in the military industry, and they do it best. They move to occupy the entire market. What about virtual technology? Have there been any results? Lin Yu is also very concerned about virtual technology. In the world of his last life, virtual technology has been improving, but until he left that world, he did not see the virtual technology fully mature. After entering the Marvel world, technology, the economic conditions are fully met, so this can be regarded as Lin Yu's obsession. Chairman, the funding required for the research of virtual technology is a bit huge. As a scientific researcher, he will also carry out risk measurement and assessment, some hesitation said to Lin Yu. Funding is not a problem. What I need to see is the results. I will be directly responsible for this project. If you have any problems, you can report to me directly. But if your problems are solved, if my requirements are not met, do you know the consequences? Yes, as long as there are sufficient funds, there is absolutely no problem. Although some don't understand why Lin Yu insists on developing virtual technology, but no one will question Lin Yu's decision. Well, I have seen everyone's hard work and achievements, and I will definitely not treat you badly during the annual summary. Lin Yu didn't say much, and everyone was secretly excited. Future Technology is well known for its strictness and generosity to its staff. Since Lin Yu said such things, they will definitely be satisfied. After a brief inspection, Lin Yu took Wanda and left. The Future Technology has already started a powerful change, and is completely on the right track. Lin Yu is also relieved. These are the foundations for him to gain a foothold in this world in the future. Future Technology is developing steadily and rapidly, but the military that cooperates with Future Technology has encountered many criticisms. Although the matter of the Hulk was resolved, and it was very secretive, and did not cause too bad an impact, but among those who knew it, it was tantamount to setting off a big wave. The government was very nervous about the appearance of the Hulk, and it attached great importance to it. Similarly, this incident was all blamed on the military, and Ross suffered a lot of criticism. In the end, it was concluded that the Imperial Army plan must be accelerated, achieve results as soon as possible. I propose that a target location can be handed over to future technology. Although Ross has suffered a lot of criticism, it is undeniable that he still has a great voice among the top management. Ross also has his own considerations for the proposal to involve future technology. This time, when dealing with the powerful Hulk, future technology has shown extraordinary strength. Everyone in the know is curious about future technology and wants to know more about it. After Rose proposed, no one objected. Since there is no objection, let's make this decision. The mysterious area code-named Skull Island is to be explored by future technology. Ross had a smile on his face, and his mood was a little complicated. On the one hand, Lin Yu's attitude made him a little dissatisfied. Future technology exploration has a high success rate. Chairman, someone from the military is looking for you. Wanda's voice woke up Lin Yu, who was distracted, and made Lin raise his eyebrows. The military is looking for him. Is there any trouble again? Well, let him go to the conference room, I'll be there soon. In the conference room, Lin Yu looked at General Ross with a look of surprise on his face. Originally, he thought that it was just some small fish and shrimps from the military who found him, but he didn't expect that it was Ross who came to find him himself. General Ross, long time no see, how are you doing? Seeing Lin Yu with a smile on his face, Ross felt as uncomfortable as eating a fly. When his army was bombarded by the Hulk, Dai Yu also had the same smiling expression in front of him. Chairman Lin, I am here this time to discuss some confidential matters with you on behalf of the military. Ross really couldn't bear Lin Yu's playful smile, so he spoke seriously, and moved out of the military, just to make Lin Yu take it seriously, but the amiable smile on Lin Yu's face did not restrain himself, which made Ross very depressed. It's hard to imagine how an iron-blooded general like Ross would feel like this when facing a young man in his early 20s. It's very safe here, there are only two of us, if you have any confidential matters, you can tell me directly. The military. In Lin Yu's eyes, it is a joke. It is impossible to move out of the military to suppress him. Ross gritted his teeth secretly, but still took out a sealed document and handed it to Lin Yu. This is a military secret, which records in detail the military's exploration of an unknown area, but now the military is short of manpower, so. Lin Yu tore off the seal casually, without the slightest respect for the so-called confidentiality, and directly took out the materials in it and began to watch. But soon, Lin Yu's brows frowned. This document did indeed record in detail the military's exploration of a mysterious island in the South Pacific, as Ross said. It is mentioned in the document that there are countless mysterious islands in the Pacific Ocean. Even with the strength of the U.S. military, they cannot explore all of them. They came to this area by accident and found many suspected, prehistoric, species on the islands. After some exploration, the military lost a large number of troops, but they did not fully explore the island. In one of the fuzzy pictures, Lin Yu can see a huge amount of human figure. Just looking through the picture, one can feel that this figure is huge and powerful. General Ross, since the military has no way to explore it, you are showing me this thing now, do you want me to arrange someone to help you explore it? Doesn't this make me send someone to die? In fact, Lin Yu already had a lot of interest in her heart, but she showed dissatisfaction on her face. Ross secretly gritted his teeth. When delivering these confidential materials to other giant companies, these companies were all ecstatic and showed great interest. They even asked to cooperate with the military to explore without even reminding them. Here, why did it turn into sending people to death? Chairman Lin, this is an opportunity. It is precisely because the future technology helped me last time that I considered you. Can you understand? There are no people on this island, and there are inexplicable creatures. If you can explore it clearly, will be huge amounts of wealth. Ross said earnestly, he is serious about wealth, in his opinion, Lin Yu only cares about money. Sorry, General Ross, you can't do it with future technology. Rose's tone froze. He didn't expect Lin Yu to refuse so simply, leaving no room for him to continue bewitching. Also, Even if future technology can explore this place clearly, the military will definitely benefit the most in the end. You are looking for free cannon fodder, and you know that I am an entrepreneur. Lin Yu looked at Ross deflated and felt relieved, so she was ready to continue making jokes. State your terms. Ross couldn't take it anymore, so he interrupted Lin Yu in a cold voice. Okay, since General Ross is so straightforward, I won't beat around the bush with you. Seeing Ross getting angry, Lin Yu didn't continue to tease him, so as not to be beaten by chickens. Everything that has been explored will be shared by the military and future technology. Quote. Ross gritted his teeth and said. Also, when exploring this unknown land, all future technology losses will be borne by the military. After all, it is impossible for you to pay nothing for us to help the military. Lin Yu, don't go too far, just these two conditions. Not even one more. Ross was furious. In his opinion, being able to hand over Skull Island to future technology exploration and share some of the benefits is already the greatest tolerance for future technology. Okay, who is General Ross, my good friend? Lin Yu looked reluctant, and then asked curiously, but General, I would like to ask, what is the purpose of the military exploring these areas? It's not something you should know, so be it. Rose resolutely refused, and didn't want to stay for a second. After a few simple explanations, he left quickly. Seeing Rose's leaving figure, Lin Yu's face was full of smiles. No matter how powerful you are in the military, in front of me, you can only wash your feet with water. Natasha Romanoff, did you see the message I transmitted to you? Fury looked a little serious, and asked the glamorous Natasha Romanoff on the other end of the screen. I see, it seems that our judgment on him was wrong. After Lin Yu intervened and defeated the Hulk, although Ross tried his best to hide this dishonorable incident, S.H.I.E.L.D. found out about it. At the same time, Fury's view of Lin Yu also changed a lot. The information said that Lin Yu is just a dandy, but now it seems that this is not the case. If Lin Yu is really a dandy, how can future technology have the strength to solve the Hulk that the military can't deal with? Natasha Romanoff, you haven't penetrated enough into the future technology. It seems that you are far from touching the real core now. Fury was also a little dissatisfied with the intelligence that Natasha Romanoff made a mistake. In his opinion, a top agent like Natasha Romanoff shouldn't make such a mistake at all. What Nick Fury doesn't know is that Natasha Romanoff has already been brainwashed by Lin Yu, and now Lin Yu is her master, so naturally she won't give him any useful information. I need you to find out the reality of future technology as soon as possible. If you can get in touch with their core technology, you must find a way. Fury's voice slowly lowered, and he assigned an extremely important task to Natasha Romanoff, trying to find a way to steal the core of future technology, the kind of technology that can deal with the Hulk, which is too important for S.H.I.E.L.D. It has to be said that Hydra's brainwashing device is really perverted. During the whole call, Fury didn't notice Natasha Romanoff's abnormality at all. Fury never thought that after he hung up the communication, Natasha Romanoff came directly to Lin Yu's office without any hesitation, and informed Lin Yu of all his orders. It seems that Fury, an old guy, really cares about me. Lin Yu sneered in his heart, but it doesn't matter. After a while, future technology will not be within the reach of S.H.I.E.L.D., and even, his chief the position is just something I can change with a single wish. Looking at Natasha Romanoff's hot body in front of her, a smirk appeared on the corner of Lin Yu's mouth. Natasha Romanoff, come here, help me X. Lin Yu ordered directly. Hearing Lin Yu's words, even Natasha Romanoff, who had been completely brainwashed, couldn't help showing a blush on her delicate face. However, Natasha Romanoff didn't have any hesitation. She stepped forward with her plump and slender thighs, came directly in front of Lin Yu, and squatted down. While Lin Yu was enjoying life, the outside world has undergone earth-shaking changes. Tony Stark, who is far away in Afghanistan, was attacked by terrorists and kidnapped by terrorists. Life or death is unknown. The military has dispatched a large number of manpower to search and rescue, but the effect is not satisfactory. On the Ross side, after getting the Hulk, Ross spent a lot of energy and specially used a secret military base as the Hulk's research center. When he drank the giant's blood, he found that his skin was impenetrable even by diamonds. Looking at the image on the video, Ross was furious, and at the same time secretly marveled. The strength of the Hulk's body has exceeded ordinary people's cognition. thinking that when Lin Yu handed the Hulk into his hands, the Hulk was full with the scars on his body. Ross couldn't help but gasp, and his fear of future technology became more and more serious. However, when Ross was at a loss, things turned around. Hulk's biological father, David Banner, who had escaped for a long time, was captured by the military. Ross was overjoyed when he got the news, and planned to use David Banner as a breakthrough. Study the two fathers and sons at the same time, and then officially start his super soldier project. However, before Ross knew it, David Banner had sneaked into the laboratory during his escape, irradiated himself with gamma rays, fully activated the special serum in his body, and obtained a special ability, can absorb surrounding energy and integrate with objects in contact. After getting this ability, David Banner was not satisfied. He thought of his son, and after learning that his son could mutate into a Hulk, he started to think about his son, and wanted to pass his own ability completely absorbed the Hulk's energy, so he took the initiative to throw himself into the net, and was captured by Ross's military. If there is any abnormality in him, I will turn on the electric current at any time and burn him to ashes. Ross's face was calm, and he made full preparations this time. He handcuffed Bruce Banner to a chair, placed him in a base surrounded by a huge electric field, and asked his biological father to meet him. Sir, we have set up a 200-yard cordon, which will not affect the surrounding area. Very good, bring his father out, I want to see the monster I created. What is David's expression? Ross also didn't look good on the Hulk's biological father, David Banner. Back then, David Banner was his core researcher, Qian Zhaohao, but he made illegal human experiments, which eventually led to the shelving of the super soldier plan. 20 years of his time were wasted. Soon, Hulk met his father and son. Under Rose's attention, the two just communicated normally at first, and there were a lot of emotions, but later on, things went beyond Rose's expectations. I want to show you my true power. David Banner suddenly went berserk, grabbed a high-voltage wire on the ground, and bit down on it. Power-ups. Rose's face changed, and he gave an order to the soldiers around him. The soldiers were a little nervous, but they pressed the red power on button without hesitation. In the electric field, the electric current was switched on instantly, and the electric current went berserk for a while, and the entire electric field became a sea of thunder and lightning. After a long battle, increase power output. Rose's expression changed drastically. Looking at David Banner, who was constantly devouring the electric current in the electric field, he had a bad premonition in his heart. He didn't expect this old guy to have such a special ability. Sir, no, our energy is insufficient. There is a reaction force in the electric current field. A large amount of energy was swallowed by David Banner, causing the electric light in the field to decrease rapidly, and Bruce Banner was also strongly stimulated in this electric field. His human body could not bear the strong electric current, and his shirt cracked, the slowly exposed skin slowly turned green. David Banner, who is constantly devouring the electric current, has a mess of electric current in his body, which faintly reflects his skeleton, and as a large amount of energy enters his body shape also undergoes huge changes, expanding continuously. Even the surface of his body, they are all electric current, and it is impossible to see the original appearance clearly. Yes, that's it, go on. David Banner's voice was completely different from his original voice, with a weird electric current sound. After David Banner turned into an electric giant, Bruce Banner, who was chained to a chair beside him, also broke out, and the iron chain broke on his swollen body, without any effect. Then, let out a roar. Sir, all energy has been swallowed up. Following the soldiers' report, the entire base was plunged into darkness, not to mention the base, and even the urban area of New York, which was connected to the power supply of the base, was plunged into darkness, causing many residents to panic. What's going on here? Will there be a power outage in New York? The villa suddenly fell into darkness, making Lin Yu, who was having dinner, a little confused, and couldn't help complaining, but soon, the lights came back on, and the power supply was interrupted for only a moment. After devouring the huge electric current, David Banner has completely turned into a ball of blazing electric light, more than twice as tall as the transformed Hulk. Standing in front of the prostrate Hulk, it looks very scary. Rush in and kill them. Ross was furious. He originally thought that catching David Banner would allow him to help him perfect his super soldier plan and copy everything that happened to the Hulk. However, he didn't expect that in the end, he was still swayed by David Banner. Everyone, attack me and kill these two monsters. At the moment Ross, who has been crushed by the Hulk one after another, has made him wear out all his patience, and wants to kill the father and son who betrayed him at all costs. David Banner, whose whole body was completely turned into an electric current, laughed wildly, making the base tremble. A large number of dense bullets were bounced off by the powerful electric current field before they touched his body. With a thunderclap, the huge Hulk and David Banner on the spot disappeared, turning into a flash of lightning and rushing up to the sky. When everyone looked up, they could still see an electric current constantly shuttling between the thick clouds. If you have enough vision, you can even see Hulk's angry face in the flash of light. Send out the army, at all costs, I want them dead. In the midst of anger, Ross completely lost his mind, and vowed to kill the Hulk father and son. A large number of troops were mobilized under Ross's order, but everyone was a little powerless. David Banner could turn into lightning, and at a speed almost close to lightning traveling through the clouds is simply not something they can pursue. CBCH in the villa, Lin Yu's expression changed, and he put down the food in front of him. What's wrong, Brother Lin? Originally, Lin Yu, Ophelia, Wanda and Quicksilver were eating, but the power outage just now was a bit abrupt, which made Lin Yu feel a little strange, but just now, Lin Yu perceived the low clouds above the villa. Among them, there is a huge and terrifying energy passing by in an instant, and this kind of energy makes him have a sense of familiarity. Hulk. Lin Yu quickly figured out that the source of this sense of familiarity was the energy fluctuations in the Hulk's body, but what made Lin Yu a little puzzled was that if he was not mistaken, the Hulk should be in Ross's hands now, and when will Hulk be able to fly? Eat first, I'll go out for a while. Without further ado, in order to find out the truth of the matter, Lin Yu put down the food in his hands, greeted everyone briefly, and turned into a golden light, rushed out of the villa according to the direction he sensed just now, and headed towards the distant place. Skyrim followed. In the sky, there was thunder from time to time, and the Hulk was struggling. He didn't have any good feelings for his biological father. When he was less than 4 years old, he saw with his own eyes that his biological father accidentally killed his mother, and he also wanted to kill himself. This has become his shadow for many years, and every time he thinks of this, he can't control the anger in his heart at all. Boom! With a bang, the powerful force directly scattered the insubstantial thunder. Hulk shook with all his strength, breaking through the clouds with a mass of flashing energy, and fell rapidly from high altitude, crashing into a clear lake side. David Banner has fully mastered his ability. The electric light converges, and when he touches the earth and rocks by the lake, a monster made of earth and rocks appears in front of the Hulk in an instant. The Hulk sees the earth and rock monster in front of him and roars angrily. The attack was launched. The stone monster and I fought together with the Hulk. Although the broken earth and rocks couldn't withstand the Hulk's violent bombing, David Banner's ability is special, and he wanted to touch the Hulk's body for a while, devouring a lot of energy. Constant war. In the distant sky, a golden light loomed among the clouds, and it was Lin Yu. The huge energy fluctuations left along the way made Lin Yu a little frightened. He kept chasing after this energy fluctuations. In the sky, the sound of violent battles by the lake has already been heard. Chapter 71. Perception of the shocking battle by the lake. Lin Yu restrained his own energy fluctuations, and quietly fell from the sky, without attracting the attention of the two people who were fighting furiously, quietly appeared on a nearby mountain, sizing up the two with great interest battle. Interesting. Unexpectedly, there is such a special ability. It seems that the Hulk is dangerous. Lin Yu saw the two in the fight, and quickly recognized their identities. As for the family affairs between the two fathers and sons, Lin Yu decided to stand by and watch a good show happily. But soon, Lin Yu frowned slightly, and a vague sense of peeping appeared. In the sky above his head, several drones approached. General, we found their location. In front of Ross, a technician said to Ross, instantly attracting Ross's attention. However, just when Rose saw the battlefield getting closer and closer on the screen, and when the two figures above were fighting, the screen slapped, a burst of blue electric current exploded, and then turned into a snowflake. How is this going? Not to mention Ross, even the technician next to him was at a loss. It was obviously far away from the Hulk and David Banner's battlefield, and the drone didn't attract the attention of the two of them. Suddenly broke. No matter how Ross and the technicians guessed, they would never know that in front of the wreckage of the falling drone, Lin Yu had a smile on his face, and the blue electromagnetic soil foot in his hand stepped the drone into pieces. Boom! The Hulk jumped up, punched down heavily, and directly smashed the giant made of stones into pieces, but this time, the giant made of stones didn't completely explode, and a large amount of gravel stuck to the Hulk's body. Hulk's angry face froze for a moment, and then a hint of surprise appeared in his eyes. Now it's right. David Banner's powerful voice sounded, covering the Hulk with a layer of gray energy like earth and stones. Through contact, he was constantly absorbing the Hulk's power. That's it. I gave you your life, and now you give it back to me. Greater power. Greater glory. Ah! Boom! The stone man let out a hearty roar, but in the next second, his stone head was completely smashed by the slap of the Hulk, dragging the broken body of the stone man. The Hulk leapt vigorously, jumped into the sky, and then fell heavily. It hit a mountain wall and smashed all the earth and rocks stuck to him, and finally got rid of this weird devouring power. Although David Banner was freed from the impact this time, the Hulk was also a little dizzy, and it took him a while to recover. There were a lot of fine cracks on the boulder that hit just now, and a face emerged. It was David Banner. His ability allows him to transform and move easily. The Hulk roared, seeing this face again. His anger soared. He rushed forward, roared violently, and the huge amounts of muscular arm grabbed hard, fingers were dunked into the hard stone wall. Roar! With a loud roar, Zhang Yu Qianjin's stone wall was lifted up by the Hulk, and then he threw it violently, directly crossing a parabola, and fell into the lake water, causing shocking waves. Lin Yu watched this scene from a distance, and couldn't help being surprised by the Hulk's strength, but still couldn't help laughing inwardly. David Banner's ability is special, it can't be defeated by this method. It seems that only the Hulk, who knows brute force, may be at a disadvantage. Sure enough, seeing the boulder falling into the lake, the berserk Hulk rushed directly into the lake, looking for his enemies, and David Banner's reflection appeared on the clear lake in front of him. My son, become one with me and give me back your strength. David's voice was excited, devouring a lot of Hulk's power, which made him more comfortable than the huge electric field he absorbed just now. The angry Hulk didn't have any sense at all, and huge amounts of fists directly bombarded the water surface, smashing David Banner's reflection into pieces, but for David Banner, it was difficult for such an attack to cause any damage. Harm. Roar. The Hulk, who was violently bombarding the lake, suddenly let out an exclamation. David Banner merged into the water, controlled the power of the lake, rolled up a violent vortex, and dragged him deep into the bottom of the lake. In the water, no matter how powerful the Hulk is, it will be limited, and it is difficult to make meritorious deeds. David Banner controls the lake water, pulls the Hulk wantonly, and drags him toward the depths of the lake, into the Hulk's skin, constantly devouring his strength. After some struggles, the Hulk's attack became a little weak, and he was swallowed and absorbed a lot of energy. He also gradually felt a weakness that he had almost never felt before. That's right, keep fighting. The more you fight, the more I can absorb from you. The Hulk kept bombarding, and in front of him, David Banner, who had absorbed a lot of energy, turned into a waterman, with a green light from the same source as the Hulk faintly emitting from his body, imprinting a human silhouette, laughing maniacally. When the Hulk attacked, David Banner was not only absorbing the power of the Hulk, but he also turned into a waterman, and at the same time swallowed all the energy around him through the vast lake. Standing at Lin Yu's point of view, he could clearly see that the lake was tumbling violently, then calmed down, and then from the depths of the center of the lake, a strong chill slowly spread, causing the entire lake to freeze from the middle to the surroundings. This is a physical phenomenon. David Banner absorbs a large amount of surrounding energy. Heat is also a kind of energy. Absorbing heat causes a sudden drop in temperature, and the clear lake water quickly becomes a huge amount of ice. Sir, in the area where those two monsters appeared, our thermal sensing system detected an unusual drop in temperature. But at the same time, there is still strong radiation in a huge area. They're absorbing energy around them. Soon, the technicians made an accurate judgment, and calculated the intensity of the battle between the two. Looking at the calculation results obtained by the technicians, even Rose felt powerless for a while, but was swallowed in just a short moment. The energy is already comparable to the explosion of a nuclear warhead. Sir, should we report? Rose's deputy couldn't sit still. If he let it develop first, an unprecedented monster would probably be born. Under the frozen lake, the Hulk had already stopped moving, and his face was frozen in the ice, making it difficult to move. Sleep. Bruce, forget all this forever. Stop fighting. Give me all your energy. David Banner's voice sounded in the Hulk's mind, causing the Hulk's eyes, which had been slowly closed, to burst open when he was almost asleep. You think you can take it? Take it. The Hulk, who regained part of his sanity in an instant, erupted with unprecedented anger, and all the anger that had been accumulated in his heart for more than 20 years erupted in an instant. Take it all. The Hulk let out a roar, and no longer suppressed the anger in his heart. The violent green energy rioted like never before, and almost instantly exceeded his previous limit. Bang bang bang. Numerous cracks were opened on the solid ice, and then under the impact of green energy, it was directly annihilated, and a hollow area with huge amounts of appeared. David Banner felt the sudden burst of powerful energy from the Hulk, causing his strength to soar instantly, and he couldn't help moaning comfortably. Yes, that's it. Go on. Cool. Ah, a bedge. The Hulk's roar shook the entire ice lake, and the violent impact of the sound waves had already cracked the lake's surface, and countless spider web-like cracks appeared, and on his body, the green energy visible to the naked eye wave after wave, like a violent tide. It burst out and was swallowed by David Banner. David Banner swallowed a large amount of energy, forming a phantom with huge amounts of energy, and it was still expanding. In a few moments, his body was already far away. Beyond the icy lake, a huge amount of human face slowly condenses above the icy lake, with a sense of comfort and violence. With boundless ambition and ferocity. At the bottom of the dark and cold lake, the Hulk kept roaring, releasing violent green energy. This time, even if David Banner didn't swallow it, he would have to completely release the energy. Monster, he wants to be himself, to be that weak human being, to be Bruce Banner, and to live the life of an ordinary person. Oh, cool. Lin Yu watched in amazement as a mass of powerful energy erupted from the entire icy lake, and expanded rapidly, covering the entire area soon, forming the giant face of David Banner. This mass of energy was like water waves, but rising towards the sky. Even Lin Yu felt the ultimate threat in this mass of energy. Once it exploded, it might not be 10 powerful nuclear bombs. The energy waves spread rapidly, and soon surpassed the area of the frozen lake, spreading in all directions. Similarly, David Banner was constantly devouring everything that could be swallowed. Ha, a human being, but I can already feel the huge energy in your body. Give it to me. Give it all to me. It's all mine. At the moments David Banner has fallen into a bewilderment, his huge energy body perceives the energy in Lin Yu's body. A little excited, without the slightest hesitation, he covers huge amounts of body, trying to devour Lin Yu. Seeing the huge amounts of David Banner, huge amounts of body pressed down like a sky, Lin Yu had a strange smile on his face, and when David Banner broke out, the armor of thorns in Lin Yu's brain burst out joyful vibrations. This kind of vibrations, Lin Yu is very familiar with. This is the delicious vibrations encountered. So, watching David Banner press down, Lin Yu didn't resist at all. Even without the golden light mist defense on his body, he just let the energetic David Banner come down and wrap him in it. A powerful devouring force descended, trying to devour Lin Yu's energy, causing Lin Yu's body to tremble slightly. Caught you. Lin Yu sneered, and finally stopped suppressing the eager armor of thorns in his body, allowing it to be released freely. The phantom of the armor of thorns appeared outside Lin Yu's body, instantly stopping David Banner's devouring and assimilating power, making David Banner let out a light hey, increasing his ability, gathering violent energy, thinking to break through the barrier of the armor of thorns and devour Lin Yu completely. When the phantom of the armor of thorns appeared, Lin Yu could no longer feel any negative power, and a mocking smile appeared on his face. In front of the armor of thorns, David Banner's ending may not be great. With the huge power gathering, trying to break through the defense of the armor of thorns, there are strange golden patterns flashing on the armor of thorns, and a large number of complicated patterns light up on that looks like an old armor in an instant, and all the gathered and the incoming energy will disappear without a trace in almost a second. Then devour. Lin Yu has never seen anything that can surpass the armor of thorns. In just a moment, the value of the stored energy in Lin Yu's mind increased by leaps and bounds like a rocket. From the original 320,000, it increased by leaps and bounds, and instantly reached 500,000, 1 million, 1.5 million, and even, this almost terrifying, the growth rate is still accelerating. The enormous energy that David Banner absorbed from the Hulk was turned into pure energy value, which was swallowed and absorbed by the armor of thorns. The whole process is overbearing to the extreme. Lin Yu was completely immersed in the pleasure of soaring energy value. He could feel the majestic energy value in the armor and in his body, which was like Wang Yang's ocean. However, what makes Lin Yu come here is a bit regretful and regrettable that although David Banner provided the energy value of a superstar, it did not improve the original attribute of the armor and the upper limit of the defense value. Definitely, this is not a big problem. The massive energy value is enough to make up for everything. With such a huge energy value, he can even use a big move like Chao Shenluo Tianzhong more than 100 times. If he encounters any powerful ability later, he can also analyze and back up it without any scruples. The original, well-to-do life, has now become a local tyrant in an instant. I have to say, David Banner's head is beautifully presented. Ah, what are you? My energy. David Banner soon discovered the abnormality, and a horrified voice sounded in front of Lin Yu. For David Banner, who was obsessed with huge power, his energy was swallowed up a lot in an instant, which made him a little unacceptable. Under the struggle, David Banner was shocked to find that the devouring and assimilating ability he relied on for survival was so fragile in front of this armor phantom. He couldn't even do the defensive ability, let alone resist up. For the armor of thorns, David Banner already felt a little fear, and he didn't dare to mobilize a huge energy bombardment, but wanted to withdraw his own energy and didn't dare to touch it too much. Under the control of David Banner, the huge energy body changes, and it is about to break away from the phantom of the armor of thorns. The phantom of the armor of thorns released from Lin Yu's body seemed to feel the disappearance of the huge energy, slightly shocked, a little dissatisfied. Under the influence of the huge power, David Banner's entire huge amounts of body was pulled by a strange force come into contact with the phantom of the armor of thorns. Even though David Banner roared in horror, it is difficult to stop it. Don't you like being devoured? How does it feel to be devoured now? With a smile on Lin Yu's face, he looked at David Banner's hideous giant face amidst the energy storm, with a sneer on his face. Neither the armor of thorns nor he would let this huge amounts of power bank run away. No, let me go, let me go. David Banner felt the rapid loss of energy in his body, and his originally inflated energy body was rapidly shrinking. Surprise, shock and fear were mixed in his heart. The devouring ability of the phantom of the armor of thorns became stronger and stronger. At the position where it was in contact with David Banner's energy body, it almost set off an energy tornado, and the shocking energy was swallowed into the armor, but the armor did not change at all. It still looks a bit dilapidated and worn out. Please, let me go. I was wrong. Don't. By this time, David Banner's voice had turned into pleading, and the power he had finally swallowed was used to make a wedding dress for someone else. Now that he was swallowed by madness, the current David Banner's energy body was connected to the Hulk, was propped up by the force released by the Hulk, and one end was connected to the thorny armor phantom outside Lin Yu's body. He was swallowed brutally. The pleasure of swallowing and the fear of being swallowed were intertwined, but he had no way to resist at all. When you wanted to devour me just now, did you expect to be devoured by me? With a sneer on Lin Yu's face, he looked mockingly at the distorted David Banner's giant face in the energy tornado. He was completely unmoved by his entreaties, even his own son. Such a person, it's not a pity to die. The energy value stored in Lin Yu's brain is like a cheating machine. It is increasing rapidly, and after only a moment of devouring, the value explodes again. Seeing this scene, even Lin Yu was startled. Before, he thought that once David Banner's energy body exploded, it would be as powerful as a nuclear bomb explosion. However, judging from the current energy value, I am afraid that if these energy values explode completely, it is not a big problem to destroy a small satellite. However, Lin Yu also understands that these energies are not originally from David Banner, but from the body of the Hulk. Lin Yu is also shocked by this. The Hulk is still releasing his anger and energy. Will stop. Far away in the military base, a group of staff monitoring the entire area through thermal and energy equipment have been completely stunned. General, shall we report to the superior, the end of the world is coming. The staff couldn't even believe the energy data calculated on the screen, but in just a short while, the energy fluctuations erupting in the ice lake area have far exceeded the scope of human imagination. At this moment, although Rose's eyes are a little powerless, they are more fanatical. This is the power of the Hulk. This is the power of David Banner's research. If he can obtain this kind of research results, it will be enough to shock the world. Even let the United States dominate the world. Must. Ross muttered to himself. Everyone was immersed in the huge energy fluctuations emanating from the ice lake, and no one could hear what Ross was saying. Quote. Exclamation mark quote. The Hulk's anger is not infinite. Finally, his roar stopped, and the last sliver of anger and green rage energy in his body completely entered David Banner's energy body, and his consciousness also slowly fell into darkness. Slowly closing his eyes, his body shrunk rapidly, the green color faded, and he turned into Bruce Banner of ordinary file size. Although the energy released by the Hulk ended, so that David Banner would not continue to bear his energy with strong anger and hatred, but at the other end, the Phantom of the Armor of Thorns did not want to let David go. The meaning of Banner. No matter how much David Banner pleads, Lin Yu will not be moved. In fact, it is not that Lin Yu is unwilling, but now, the Armor of Thorns can no longer be controlled by him, and he is absorbing David Banner's energy independently, transforming into huge energy value. David Banner's body was shrinking rapidly. Without the support of the Hulk, his original energy couldn't withstand the absorption of the Armor of Thorns. Even faster, his terrified screams and pleadings became indistinct. 4,230,000. When it stopped, the energy value reached an astonishing 4 million. Finally, after a weak scream, all energy fluctuations subsided, and there was no more David Banner in the world. His ability finally turned him into pure energy, buried in the devouring Armor of Thorns. Sir, the energy fluctuations suddenly decay, and the speed is quite fast. Energy fluctuations have stopped. The technicians and everyone looked surprised and didn't understand what happened, but on the thermal projection screen, the area where the fluctuations were extremely violent just now has returned to calm, and there is no energy fluctuation or radiation bursting out. Rose's face was gloomy, and there was a hint of doubt in his eyes. He didn't understand why the violent energy fluctuations disappeared completely in a few breaths. Send someone to take a look. After a long while, Ross was unable to speak. Regardless of the outcome, he had to admit that the Army's existing strength and technology were completely incapable of researching the Hulk. Yes, in addition, all the blood of Bruce Banner collected before, and the super soldier serum. But General, the super soldier serum is not perfect yet. I know. Yes. Lin Yu looked happy. There was no huge energy fluctuation between the heaven and the earth, and the Phantom of the Armor of Thorns on his body was slowly disappearing, and returned to his body. After a while, Lin Yu barely suppressed the excitement in his heart, and glanced at the dilapidated ice lake. A deep hole was opened from the center of the ice lake, and the Hulk had turned into Bruce Banner again. All the anger accumulated for more than 20 years was released, and now he has fallen into a coma, and it will be difficult to wake up for a while. Lin Yu didn't pay much attention to it. The harvest tonight was quite rich. In order to avoid trouble, Lin Yu left quickly, turned into a faint golden light, leapt up, rushed directly into the sky, and quickly disappeared here in the area. But what Lin Yu didn't know was that shortly after he left, the Hulk who had been in a coma woke up unexpectedly. Recalling the scene that happened just now, Bruce Banner's face was a little complicated. Although he fell into a coma at the last moment and didn't know what happened, he could already feel that his father had died. Well, with a long sigh, Bruce barely stood up, left the frozen lake with difficulty, and disappeared into the darkness. After going back, Lin Yu just gave a brief explanation to everyone, and didn't say much. He absorbed a huge energy value, which made Lin Yu more confident. Under his arrangement, the development speed of future technology will become more and more rapid. However, such a development trend has gradually attracted the attention of the old United States consortium. Once the future technology continues to develop at such a speed, I am afraid that new consortiums will rise soon, and their status will also be affected. The development of science and technology in the future is too great, and some of the officials and politicians we bought have already voted for them under the generous conditions they offered. In a secret office, several middle-aged people with extraordinary temperament sat together, and one of them spoke. HMPH, Future Technology. A company of one person dares to be so rampant. That young man, isn't he afraid of dying like his parents? Some people couldn't get used to Lin Yu and said in a cold voice. Recently, the military's attitude towards future technology is somewhat ambiguous. It took me a lot of effort to get some news. The huge monster that almost hit New York a while ago was dealt with by future technology, and what happened in the middle, apart from future technology, nobody knows. I've also heard rumors that it's their core technology, but I'm really interested in this so-called core technology. We need some countermeasures. Let him know that the authority of the established consortium cannot be challenged. Lin Yu doesn't know that under his arrangement, the future technology will develop rapidly, but some hidden dangers have also been planted. Many old forces in the dark are not happy, and they want to join forces to suppress it. Let Lin Yu know what rules are, and some radicals even want to target Lin Yu directly and secretly. However, even if Lin Yu knew about it, he wouldn't take it seriously. If someone dared to target him, he would naturally kill others, but now Lin Yu has other things. Ross and other senior military officials have come to future technology and are keeping secrets. In the conference room, I had a secret conversation with Lin Yu. General Ross, you've been running around my place a bit lately. Lin Yu smiled. Chairman Lin, I am here this time to have a deeper cooperation with future technology. With a smile on his face, Ross said kindly to Lin Yu that this time, he came to future technology not at the behest of the military or the government, but for his own super soldier project. Last time at Plow Lake, after the Hulk and David Banner fought, Ross lost his wife and lost his army. After so many times of destruction by the Hulk, Ross has realized that no matter how powerful the Hulk is, he cannot be defeated. He controls the beast, and what he needs is a forbidden, military dog. Oh, Lin Yu raised her brows, looking at Ross's kind expression. She was already thinking in her heart how she should be ripped off by then. Qian's Zhao, I don't know what kind of cooperation General Ross wants to have with me in future technology. Lin Yu also had a smile on his face, and asked. Looking at Lin Yu's smiling face, Rose always felt a little uncomfortable, but right now he has something to ask for, so he has to lower his posture. It's like this. Future technology has unique research in the field of biology, and now I have an unfinished plan in my hand, and I am willing to share it and study it together. While Ross was speaking, the assistant had already shown a document in front of Lin Yu. After receiving the file, Lin Yu frowned. Super Soldier Project. The weight of these words is not light. General Ross is not afraid of making another monster when he carries out this plan. Bet 1. When Lin Yu saw the Super Soldier plan, Lin Yu instantly thought of the ferocious and inhuman abomination in the story of the Hulk, but Lin Yu's mind quickly became active. As long as there is a super soldier plan and the unfinished serum, the future after the successful scientific and technological research, the abomination can naturally be mass-produced. At that time, it will be equipped with the venom he subdued. Lin Yu couldn't help but look forward to such a powerful strength. The current super soldier serum has not been perfected yet, but I believe that future technology has the strength to help me perfect this serum, and my most loyal soldiers will become test subjects. Ross has a confident look on his face. Bronsky has followed him for many years and has always been known for his loyalty and bravery. Even in the face of the Berserk Hulk, he will not have the slightest fear, but because of this, he was beaten into a disability by the Hulk. Lin Yu secretly laughed inwardly. Loyal. After Bronsky really becomes an abomination, Ross will probably burst into tears. However, since Ross took the initiative to come to his door, it was just in line with his wishes. After years of research on Ross, he has the confidence to perfect the research on abomination, but this kind of research must not fall into the hands of the military. Future technology does have such strength, but General Ross, you also know that I am a businessman. I know. Seeing the smile on Lin Yu's face, Ross couldn't hold back his anger and interrupted directly. I will arrange military researchers to conduct this research together with future technology, but the research results must be kept secret. It must not be leaked. Then what good am I? Lin Yu didn't go around the corner, and asked directly with a smile. In Ross's eyes, such a smile is no different from a wolf with a big tail. The military provides all the research funds, and after the research is completed, the military will deliver satisfactory remuneration. Ross directly took out an agreement, which clearly stated many terms, including the ownership of research results and the interests of future technology. Lin Yu looked at the agreement that Ross handed over, and the benefits in it had to be said to be very generous, but Lin Yu was not satisfied, so she picked up a pen and added several items, and added a 0 to all the amounts, and then passed it to Ross. Lin Yu. For Lin Yu's lion's big mouth, Rose's face was slightly angry, and his eyes spit fire. If he didn't need Lin Yu's help, he might really strangle Lin Yu to death. General Ross, once the experiment is successful, you should know how big the benefits will be. The birth of a super soldier may directly affect the division of interests among countries in the world, and the 4 stars on your head may become even more powerful. Brilliant. Lin Yu was not annoyed at all. Facing the angry Ross, she remained calm and bargained without fear. No, the most I can do is this. Ross Times dropped the 2 particularly excessive requirements written by Lin Yu. This is the limit of what I can do. If you don't want to, then I can only find someone else cooperate. Everyone is old friends. Since General Ross has made a concession, I will naturally not ask too much, so let's do it. General Ross, Hulk blood samples and super soldier serum will be sent as soon as possible, and I will also arrange a special. I believe that soon, you will have satisfactory results. A smile appeared on Lin Yu's face again, which made Ross curse inwardly, and at the same time, felt extremely heartbroken. After the old and the young signed the agreement, Ross didn't stay long, and left soon. Soon after, the super soldier serum and Hulk blood samples were also secretly escorted into the test center specially arranged by Lin Yu. There were researchers and some elites under Ross who were responsible for it. Lin Yu also attached great importance to this research, and asked Ophelia to participate with several top biological performers of future technology. Chairman, the person you want to meet is here. Outside the office, Wanda walked in with a middle-aged man wearing glasses, and said to Lin Yu. Dr. Samuel Stern, it's been a long time. I admire your research in the field of biology. It is an honor for future technology to invite you to join us. Seeing this middle-aged man, Lin Yu stood up with a smile, shook hands with him, and spoke with a smile on his face. Muscle Stern, Lin Yu knows this name, or in the plot of the Hulk, he has a secret relationship with the Hulk, alias Drive. Lan, and after receiving Bruce Banner's blood, Drive. Lan conducted in-depth research, really researched something amazing, and in the end, Bronski's incarnation of hatred was also completed with his help. Chairman, you are too kind. It is my honor to join the core team of future technology. As a university professor, Samuel Stern wanted to do some research, but he didn't have huge financial support at all. This has always been his predicament. After receiving the solicitation of future technology and seeing Lin Yu's sincerity, Samuel Stern didn't have any hesitation, so he agreed directly. Doctor, future technology and the military are now cooperating to perfect a study. I believe you will be interested. Lin Yu smiled, took out the super soldier plan, and asked Dr. Stern to check it out. Looking at the plan in his hand, Stern's face gradually became serious. As a top person in the field of biological research, he was already deeply attracted by this plan in a moment. When he finished reading the plan completely, his body was full of excitement, trembling a little. This is simply subversive research. Lin Yu smiled slightly, and patted Dr. Stern on the shoulder. Dr. Stern, you also know that this kind of research is very secretive, and it is in cooperation with the military, so it must not be leaked. Well, I understand that the chairman's ability to give me such a research as a trust in me. Dr. Stern blushed under the excitement, nodded repeatedly, and kept showing his loyalty, for fear that Lin Yu would not trust him. Also, Dr. Stern, you are participating as a researcher of future technology, not as a researcher of the military, understand? After recruiting Dr. Lan, Lin Yu's confidence in perfecting the super soldier serum has greatly increased. Not to mention other things, Dr. Lan alone can complete the research as long as he has enough funds. How is it, General Ross, are you satisfied with our efficiency? Soon, Lin Yu and Ross stood outside the experimental center, Looking at the many busy workers, Lin Yu asked with a smile on his face. Ross nodded slightly. Although he was a little annoyed and helpless towards Lin Yu, he had to say that Lin Yu was quite reliable in his work. General, don't worry, with the top researchers specially arranged by me, the research can be perfected soon. Lin Yu made a strong promise, but at the same time secretly said in her heart, this is my own research, and it will definitely be completed soon. As Lin Yu expected, with Stern, a top biology PhD. The DNA in the blood sample was integrated into the super soldier serum and tried. Doctor, how is the progress of the research? Lin Yu asked. Stern's face was a little pale. After joining the project, he spent 17 or 8 hours a day in the test center, and it was precisely because of this that the test went on so smoothly. The experiment has achieved results, but the special blood gene is too special, and we can only decipher part of it with our current means, but the serum, after adding the deciphered part of the blood DNA, is already being perfected, but if you wanted to conduct tests, test materials are required. Dr. Stern said that it was a bit embarrassing to test the materials. What kind of experimental materials are needed? Human experiment. Stern's eyes were a bit inexplicable. The serum and blood samples were gradually being perfected, but thinking of getting the final data, human experiments would be needed, and no one would know the final results of the human experiments, and if they failed, they would create another one. The monster, Drive, Stern, who is the main person in charge, has not dared to take any action. This is not a problem. General Ross of the military is very generous. He has a wounded soldier who volunteered to participate in the experiment. I just need to inform him. Lin Yu smiled and then lowered his voice. Doctor, blood samples and serum, is it backed up? It has been backed up. All the test results have been backed up. Dr. Stern's complexion changed. He was a little nervous and spoke cautiously. Very well, remember, don't be noticed by General Ross's people. Ross was a little surprised when he received the notification. He didn't expect that the super soldier serum would progress so quickly after investing a lot of researchers in future technology. According to Lin Yu, it has been completely completed in theory, and now it needs to conduct clinical human experiments. I'll be here soon, and Bronsky will be with me then. With some uncontrollable excitement in his heart, Ross nodded, and then quickly arranged everything. He brought Bronsky, who had broken many bones and was almost disabled, to the research center. The original Bronsky was a sharp knife in the army, Ross's most loyal subordinate. Facing the Berserk Hulk, he was able to fight for several rounds, and his combat effectiveness can be seen, but after he was crippled by the Hulk, Ross has completely regarded him as a test material. A seed of anger and hatred quietly took root in Bronsky's heart. Not only Ross, but even he himself may not be aware of it. Is this the experimental material? Seeing Bronsky lying on a stretcher covered in thick white gauze, even Dr. Andon felt that the experimental materials in front of him were a bit shabby. He is the best soldier under my command, but he was injured by that green monster during the battle, and just like that, he now has a chance to become the first powerful soldier who transforms into a super soldier. There is a hint of brilliance in Rose's eyes. Up to now, he has never doubted Bronsky's loyalty, and at the same time, he is determined to let him participate in the experiment. Okay, Dr. Stern, then please prepare, and I will witness this glorious moment with General Ross. With a smile on her face, Lin Yu spoke to Stern. Stern nodded, and asked everyone to carry Bronsky into the laboratory, and then fixed Bronsky on a special metal operating table, and inserted countless catheters and monitoring equipment. Lin Yu's face was indifferent. Looking at Bronsky in the laboratory through the special steel glass, he could keenly notice that Ross beside him was trembling uncontrollably. He didn't know if it was because of excitement or something. Everything is ready, Chairman. Dr. Stern's voice came over the loudspeaker, bringing a smile to Lin Yu's face. Let's start. A special reagent was controlled by the computer and injected into Bronsky's body through countless catheters. Just after entering Bronsky's body, it made Bronsky's body trembling while lying on the operating table. Under such stimulation, Bronsky on the operating table uttered a loud roar, with extreme pain in his voice, but also a hint of inexplicable excitement. Under the watchful eyes of Lin Yu and others, the various wounds on Bronsky's body that had slowly scabbed after the injection of the reagents unexpectedly completely collapsed, and blood spattered, but in just a short moment, all the wounds healed again. Visible speed of healing, exactly the same as the skin before the injury. Level 1 was quite successful, and his body has fully recovered. This is the first clinical trial, and Stern has been detecting Bronski's signs through various instruments, and has reached exciting conclusions. Good. Rose's eyes brightened. Although Bronski was wrapped in thick gauze and only part of his skin was exposed, the wound healed quickly, which proved the results of the research. Proceed to level 1. Inject some super soldier serum. Dr. Stern continued to operate the computer and spoke to the assistant. Soon, through the catheter connected to Bronski's body, everyone could see that some strange blue-green liquid flowed into Bronski's body. Originally, Bronski, who had recovered from the injuries on his body after level 1, after injecting super soldier serum into his body, mutated again. This time Bronski's cry was even more frightening. It seemed that he was enduring inhuman pain, and with the injection of super soldier serum, Bronski's body was gradually changing, and the most obvious was his shape. Bouncing. As Bronski grew in size, all the bandages wrapped around his body were broken, revealing a strong body inside, and there was no trace of scar on his body anymore, and the muscles are strong, and the thick ones are a bit too much. Although it seemed that Bronski was strengthening, he could tell from his screams that such short-term drastic changes caused him to suffer huge amounts of pain. No, doctor, I'm afraid his nerves can't bear the pain. We need to terminate the process. Bronski's cry was a bit too tragic, and the surrounding staff and several assistants of Dr. Stern couldn't bear it, and they hurriedly said, "Demand to terminate the experiment." Chairman, General Ross, his nerves can't bear such pain. Even if he endures it, it might have an incalculable impact on his will. Do we want to terminate the experiment? Dr. Stern was also a little panicked. He didn't expect that the super soldier serum would cause such severe pain to the human body even though there was no deviation. Continue. Rose's face was serious, without any expression, and he spoke in a cold voice, with unquestionable determination. Dr. Stern froze, and turned his gaze to Lin Yu. Lin Yu could only helplessly shrug his shoulders. Bronski was Ross's subordinate, and he didn't want to influence Ross's decision. With a helpless sigh, Dr. Stern continued to operate the instrument, and a large amount of serum continued to be injected into Bronski's body, and then in a special catheter, the blood sample extract left by the Hulk also slowly entered Bronski's body. In the body. Boom boom boom. After the Hulk's blood sample extract entered Bronski's body, along with Bronski's screams, everyone could hear another rhythmic vibration and roar, like a huge amounts of heart beating. Everyone's attention was focused on Bronski on the operating table in the laboratory. At a certain moment after the huge amounts of heartbeat sounded, Bronski's body swelled violently to the limit, and his size was far beyond ordinary people. Broke through the 3-meter mark, and the metal brackets tied to his hands and feet were also broken by his powerful body under this irreversible expansion. Ow, roar. The voice from Bronski's mouth was completely inhuman, like some kind of ferocious beast, exuding violence and bloodthirsty. Just like after the transformation of the Hulk, Bronski's body shape has not only changed, but the surface of his body has also turned brownish-green, with bulging veins, making him look terrifying and hideous. Boom. Blood and flesh spurted out, and a ball of blood exploded between Bronski's chest and abdomen. The thick and weird sternum burst out, forming a piece of bone armor that completely protected his chest cavity, and the spine behind him burst out of ink. Green blood, spit out sharp giant thorns one after another, flashing sharp cold lights, and huge amounts of bone spurs grew on his joints, making Bronski look hideous and terrifying. At this time, not to mention all the researchers and staff, even Ross was horrified. He was a little excited to see Bronski turning into a dark green giant like the Hulk. But the way it is now, is completely beast. Roar. Bronski let out a roar. His body was covered with green blood, turned over and stood up. All the conduits on his body were broken, and the huge amounts of roaring sound caused a burst of electric sparks from the surrounding instruments. Everyone evacuate. Lin Yu had known for a long time that Bronski would eventually become an abomination, but he was still a little moved by seeing this horrible process with his own eyes. In order to avoid the abhorrence hurting others, he quickly issued an order for everyone to evacuate. Go. Many staff members were in a daze for a while, but they all reacted to Lin Yu's cold shout, and they didn't dare to stay any longer, and they all started to evacuate in a hurry. General Ross, this monster is probably out of control. For your safety, I suggest that it is better for us to leave first. Everyone who saw the future technology has already evacuated, and the abomination in the laboratory has gone berserk, constantly attacking the surrounding instruments, Lin Yu said to Ross. No, he is my soldier and will definitely obey my orders. With a grim expression on his face, Ross picked up the communicator in front of him, and yelled at the abomination who was bombarding, Bronsky, I order you to stop. Through the thick steel opaque glass, if Bronsky wanted to hear it, he could only use the loudspeaker communicator. Hearing Rose's voice, Bronsky, who had already turned into abomination, put down the shapeshifting phone in his hand. Instrument. General. Bronsky listened carefully to the place where the sound came out. His eyes were full of blood red. After being transformed into abomination through the Hulk's blood sample, only anger and killing intent were in his mind. Die to me. With a sound of throwing down, Bronsky finally determined Rose's position, and huge amounts of fists directly slammed on the opaque steel glass, causing the steel glass to make a loud noise, and a large number of spider web cracks were densely covered. Boom! The special steel glass covered with spiderweb-like cracks was once again punched by the angry abomination, making it even more unbearable. If it continues like this, if there is another punch, it will probably be completely shattered. Faced with the hatred that wanted to kill him, Rose's expression changed drastically. He didn't know whether it was anger or hatred. His body was trembling, and his eyes were fixed on the hatred behind the steel glass. General Ross, it seems that your so-called loyal soldiers seem to be a little out of control now. In order to avoid unnecessary casualties, let's leave. Lin Yu looked at everything in the bombing laboratory with constant hatred, with a cold face, without any fear, and spoke to Ross. Boom, boom. Under the destruction of the abomination, the entire laboratory made a loud bang, and the hard ground couldn't bear the anger of the abomination, and then trembled endlessly. Walk. Ross almost gritted his teeth and opened his mouth. After seeing Bronsky's transformation into abomination, he completely lost control, destroyed everywhere, and not only did not obey orders, but even had a strong murderous intention towards him. Ross could hardly hold back a mouthful of old blood. Soon, Lin Yu and Ross also left through the emergency passage. In the experimental base, only abomination was left pouring out his anger, destroying almost all the equipment. Hulk, hee, here I come. The voice of loathing was cold and ruthless, with piercing killing intent and anger. After turning into this monster, he felt stronger than ever. There was a voice in his heart roaring, go out and find him. Then kill him. Roar, da da da. A helicopter quickly lifted off, and Ross and Lin Yu sat on it, watching the explosions everywhere in the experimental base. The flames gradually spread, and then there was a bang, and a huge and strange figure broke through the wall and rushed towards the downtown area of New York. He shot away, making his face even more ugly. General Ross, the responsibility for this incident has nothing to do with my future technology. It is all the loyal, experimental materials, provided by you. Except for the problem, the 10 parties of future technology have completed the agreement, area. Lin Yu was sitting on the helicopter, watching a black shadow with huge amounts of disappearing slowly, with a sneer on the corner of his mouth. The direction of hatred was the direction of downtown New York. This time, Ross made a big mess. Chairman Lin, you don't need to say that, I know it myself. After Bronsky is resolved, the experiment will continue. Ross's face was gloomy, and he said that he was very dissatisfied with Lin Yu's saying these things at this juncture, but he couldn't turn his back on him, only blame him for his wrong trust in Bronsky. General Ross, there is something I feel is necessary to remind you that our experiment is over. Lin Yu opened her mouth, making Ross stunned. What did you say? I said that the test has been perfected, but under the destruction of that, just now, the laboratory exploded, and I guess all the blood samples, serum, and test data should have been completely destroyed. Seeing Rose's flushed face, Lin Yu didn't continue talking, for fear that Rose, who was not young, really couldn't bear such a blow. Ross was worried that future technology would master the method of making super soldiers, so he specifically prohibited backing up the experimental data, and now it happened to be the perfect excuse for Lin Yu. Ross, help. Use all your forces to kill Bronsky. Once the Hulk appears, kill them all. On the bustling streets of New York, although the temperature is a little cold, there is still a lot of people. Many people have finished their day's work and come to the street to relax in groups of 3s and 2s. There are also many children with red faces from the cold laughing on the street slapstick. Boom! A loud explosion of huge amounts of alarmed all the passers-by on the street. Under the bright light, a hideous and ferocious figure appeared, with sharp bone spurs, green blood all over his body, and an uncontrollable killing intent on his face. Stimulates everyone's nerves. Ah! Run, monster! At this moment, both adults and children were shocked by the hatred. Hate looked at everyone's horrified faces, with a cruel smile on his face. While gaining great power, his personality also changed, and he actually enjoyed this pleasure very much at this moment. Slowly stretching his body, let his huge body slowly unfold, and then, the hatred let out a roar all day long. Ah! Roar! The violent roar was filled with anger, and the powerful sound wave formed a sound wave, which impacted everything around. Layers of glass shattered, and a large number of glass shards splashed down from the sky, like a rain of glass. Many people who couldn't escape kept screaming under the glass shards of file size, and their bodies were covered with big file-size small wounds, blood spattered out. For a moment, the chaotic screams, the cries of the children, the screams of the wounded, and the roars of hatred were mixed together, and the prelude to a great chaos was started. Zhao Dahao. With huge amounts of hatred, facing a truck that was out of control and hitting it, he directly raised his fist with huge amounts of it, and punched it down. The powerful impact smashed the huge amounts of truck into pieces. The entire front of the car was turned into scrap iron, and he lifted it up casually, and walked towards the place where the crowd was most concentrated without any scruples. Boom! Boom! Huge amounts of trucks slammed into the crowd, followed by an explosion, and it is unknown how many people were killed in just one blow. Ha ha ha! Seeing the tragedy he caused, not only did Hate not have any compassion, but he also laughed very freely, with a sickly madness on his face. Hulk, I'm waiting for you here, come out. A monster appeared in the 13th block. I am number 4X, please help. Ah! There's a monster in 14th Street, and he's coming towards me. Ah! The destruction of the abomination was not limited to one block, and soon huge amounts of riots shook the entire New York Police Department. A large number of policemen came out of the hole, fully armed, and quickly rushed towards the block where the monster appeared. In the high altitude of New York, several helicopters were also hovering continuously. Ross looked at the blocks that had been engulfed in flames, and his face was very ugly. He had already reported the situation, and a large number of troops would come to support it soon, but now ordinary people, there is no match for the police in the face of hatred. Chairman Lin, where is the core technology of future technology? Rose's eyes moved, thinking that Lin Yu had dealt with the Hulk before, and then he spoke urgently. Sorry, General Ross, using that kind of thing is too powerful. It's okay if it's in no man's land, but in New York, unless you want to destroy the whole New York. Lin Yu casually made an excuse, wanting him to wipe Rose's, he doesn't have that much free time. Is there any stronger one? A rocket exploded on Abomination, the strong explosion and high temperature faded away, and the remaining flames were burning on Abomination's body, but he did not suffer any substantial damage. He grabbed a dilapidated car and headed towards the direction of the attack. Lost it. Bruce Banner. In addition to the super soldier serum and Hulk's blood samples in Hate's body, after transforming, he could intuitively perceive the general location of Bruce Banner, his old enemy, in New York, but he couldn't locate it specifically, so he chose this way to force the Hulk out. Boom! The defense line pulled up by the police station was as fragile as a piece of thin paper in the face of the Hate's sturdy attack, but a simple collision knocked all the police cars flying side by side. Countless policemen hurriedly avoided, but a few people were still caught by the Hate. As soon as the body was closed, there were countless crisp bone-cracking sounds, and blood spurted out. For these fragile policemen, I didn't have much interest in crushing them to death, and then threw them away, throwing the bloody corpse dozens of meters away, and smashed it into a puddle of mud. We can't take it anymore. The casualties are too great, the monsters can't hurt at all. The summarization of news one after another caused chaos in the police station, and the sudden appearance of monsters was simply a disaster, and it was simply invincible. For the helicopter that followed him all the way in the sky, the hatred became even more impatient. He grabbed a car on the ground violently, and threw it towards the sky with all his strength. Get out of the way. Seeing this, Ross on the helicopter shouted loudly. Fortunately, the pilot of the helicopter was a top-flight officer in the army. Facing the fast-moving car, he raised the altitude urgently and turned quickly, so that he barely avoided the car's impact. Crash. Raise the height and avoid this area. I won't play with you. Lin Yu said. Rose has attracted a lot of hatred now. He is not willing to get burned. He wants to leave as soon as possible, find a good terrain, and watch a good show. Bruce Banner, where the hell are you? After destroying several blocks in succession, the hatred became more irritable, and there was a roar that shook the sky, and the sound spread far away, and most of New York could clearly hear it. Roar. Less than 2 blocks away from the abhorrence, a huge amounts of roar suddenly sounded. The momentum is not weaker than the abhorrence. After the last incident, Hulk CBFF became disheartened, changed his name and surname, and lived in seclusion somewhere in New York. However, not long after that, he felt a strong shock. At the same time, he also saw through urgent news the hatred who is destroying New York, seeing the tragedy caused by the hatred, and being provoked by the hatred one after another, made the anger in his heart hard to restrain, transformed himself, and let out a terrifying roar. Boom. After a loud bang, the ground where the Hulk had just stood was only densely packed with cracks like spider webs, and his figure had already soared into the sky. With a distance of 2 blocks, whether it is the Hulk or the Abomination, it only takes one easy jump to pass through. Hearing the Hulk's roar in response, the offensive of hatred's destruction stopped, and there was a flash of light in his eyes. The reason why he did this was to attract the green-eared man. Seeing the figure of the Hulk rushing up in the sky and shooting towards him, the hatred roared freely, his body was trembling in excitement, and he also squatted slightly. He jumped up violently, and rushed towards the huge amounts of green figure in the sky. The Hulk looked at the loathsome eyes, full of anger and disgust. He could feel part of his own blood flowing in this monster's body, like a thief who stole his own power, for this body similar to his own. The monster, Hulk's muscles bulged, and he punched down heavily. The eyes of hatred are full of hatred and killing intent. If it is not for the Hulk, he will not be frustrated again and again. If it is not for the Hulk, he will not be broken and become a cripple. Such a tragic transformation, but now it's all right. He has an invincible power. He wants revenge, he wants to get back everything he lost, and he wants to make the Hulk suffer all the pain he has suffered. Boom. The 2 figures punched each other with all their strength in the sky, and the loud noise was like a bomb exploding. If it was on the ground, the entire block would probably be destroyed. However, to everyone's horror, the 2 figures facing each other in the air quickly fell to the ground. The Abomination smashed a big hole in the ground, and the Hulk fell heavily to the ground. Boom. The Hulk sank and smashed a building, but he quickly got up and pushed away the broken wall that was pressing on the building. With a roar, the hatred took the upper hand in the first fight, making him even more angry. Last time the Hulk was absorbed by David Banner too much energy, which made him recuperate for a long time without fully recovering. Now facing the Abomination, he suffered a bit for a while. Both of them fell into anger, and neither one would give up. Relatively speaking, before the transformation of hate, he was an elite in the army. Both his conscious reaction and fighting skills were much stronger than the Hulk, so he was able to suppress the Hulk. Boom boom boom. The Hulk's attack was avoided by the hatred, and he punched his heart with all his strength. Under the powerful force, his body was like a cannonball, and he shot backwards. The giant hit and exploded continuously. For a while, Hulk's body was surrounded by explosions, and his whole body fell into a sea of flames. Interesting. I didn't expect the Abomination to be able to suppress the Hulk, but later. Lin Yu stood on the top floor of a certain building, overlooking the battle that took place on the block, completely as a bystander, with a look of interest in his eyes, without the slightest intention to intervene. Roar. As Lin Yu expected, a terrible roar burst out from the sea of flames. Filled with endless anger, the roar directly suppressed the sea of flames, and a huge figure with many flames burning all over his body jumped out suddenly. The Hulk who rushed out of the sea of flames was much more angry than before, and his size increased again. He was suppressed by the fake product of hatred one after another, and his reason was gradually suppressed, and his brain was filled with anger. Bang bang bang. Facing the hatred, the Hulk roared, clenched his fists with both hands, and suddenly hammered on his solid chest, making a sound like iron. It is conceivable how powerful his body is. The sudden appearance of the abomination threw the whole of New York into chaos, and it was too late for all parties to deal with it, but now the progress of the abomination was held back by the Hulk, and the New York police also received orders to respond quickly, and a large number of police officers stopped attacking Abomination and Hulk, but began to urgently evacuate the residents of a large area of New York. Emergency news from various media was broadcasted in turn, causing the whole of New York to fall into a state of tension. All the wounded were treated urgently and sent to a safe area for treatment by helicopters and military trucks dispatched by the military. The police teamed up and began an emergency evacuation. The flames all over his body were gradually extinguished, and the Hulk's skin was stained with many dark stains. Although he looked a little embarrassed, but coupled with his shocking body shape and violent momentum, he looked even more compelling. Hate also showed no weakness. He gave everything just for now, in order to completely beat the Hulk. Your feeble soul is not worthy of the power of a god. Today I will kill you completely. With a terrifying murderous intent, the voice of hatred rang out in front of the Hulk, and the cold eyes were full of hatred. The Hulk didn't show any weakness. The distance of tens of meters between the two was like nothing in front of him. As soon as his body moved, he had already rushed past, raised huge amounts of fists, and greeted the abomination. Hate was not to be outdone, even disdainful of defense, and also launched an attack, and there was a dull blunt sound between the two. The aftermath of the attack will ravage and destroy the overturned street 10 times again. Relying on his strong fighting intuition and years of hard-trained fighting skills, the abomination bears significantly fewer attacks than the Hulk. In front of him, the Hulk is just a reckless man with great strength, who doesn't know how to use rhyme at all. This kind of God-given power, I only know that a child fights like a child, with 8 punches, but he can dodge, unload and block, avoid the Hulk's attack as much as possible, and at the same time find the Hulk's weakness, constantly launch attack. Give me, die. A deep, murderous voice of hatred rang out. Every joint in his body was full of ferocious bone spurs. Coupled with superb fighting skills, they could be used as weapons. A simple elbow strike could leave a scar on Hulk's body. One couldn't dodge in time. A huge amount of wound appeared on Hulk's solid chest, and was scratched by the sharp nails of the abomination. The bone was visible deep, and green blood spattered. With a cold snort, the hatred was merciless, and the attack was like a violent storm. After possessing a powerful force, he completely released all the strength he had mastered, but in just a moment, the Hulk groaned again, and there were a few more monsters on his body. A wound was swept across by the phone booth pulled up from the ground by the abomination, crashing through a wall and falling into the dust. 0. Puff. The Hulk reappeared, spitting out a mouthful of cement slag. The wound on his body was healing rapidly, and he slowly walked out of the ruins, looking calmer, but the violence and anger in his blood-red eyes almost solidified. Hating the tightness of his body, the Hulk standing up again from the ruins brought him strong pressure, and there was also a faint sense of huge amounts of crisis. His powerful instinct made him extremely focused and ready to deal with the next battle. Lin Yu, who was standing on the top floor of a tall building, couldn't help but instinctively reacted when he saw the Hulk, who had become much calmer. It seemed that the Hulk's ability to get stronger and stronger with anger had been fully stimulated. I'm afraid it will continue like this. Hatred is going to suffer. Roar. Die. The abomination really couldn't bear this dead silence, and launched the attack first, jumped up suddenly, concentrated all the strength of his body, making his body make a joint-twisting sound. All the strength turned into a punch, and blasted towards the Hulk. Boom. After a muffled sound, Hate's eyes burst open, and he punched out with all his strength, but was caught by the Hulk casually, and huge amounts of fists couldn't move at all in the Hulk's hands. Impossible. This was the first reaction of the abomination. He punched out with all his strength. How could it be easily caught by the Hulk? Roar. With an unbelievable roar, the hatred exploded with all his strength, trying to pull his fist out of the Hulk's hand, but under his all-out efforts, his fist was still firmly grasped by the Hulk, motionless. A cruel smile appeared on the Hulk's mouth. The release of the breath like an ancient beast made the pupils of hatred shrink rapidly, and the Hulk in front of him who was holding his fist made him feel unmatched, and this feeling made him unbelievable. Before the abomination could react, his body was already flying into the air, and he was grabbed by the Hulk and lifted up. Ruins of earth and stone buried it. There was a bit of pain in the deep roar. The hatred jumped up from the ruins. He was unwilling to accept it no matter what, the Hulk, who was still being needed in his hands just now, was so vigorous now, easily resisting his attack, and just throw him away like trash. The abomination has completely fallen into a frenzy. He gave everything just to defeat the Hulk and prove his strength. Even now that the Hulk's strength has increased sharply, he is unwilling to believe it. The strength soared, and the Hulk, who was completely filled with anger, was completely unmoved in the face of the violent hatred. His current power completely crushed the hatred. Also cannot play due to the next day. Crack. Seizing the opportunity, the Hulk directly snapped off a sharp bone spur on Abomination's arm, causing Abomination to let out a cry of pain that sank into the bone marrow. Although the bone spur was exposed and used as an attack weapon by him, it was also his bone. The pain of the bones being snapped was almost unbearable to the hatred. Before he could react, the bone spur broken by the Hulk had become the Hulk's weapon, turning into a phantom and stabbing down obliquely, with the sound of pushing into the flesh. It was directly inserted into the shoulder of the Abomination. Ah! The bone spurs were so sharp that even the muscles and defenses that hated him could not withstand Hulk's powerful attack. The bone spurs pierced through the front shoulder armor, directly penetrated his left side of the body, and came out from the back with blood, causing him to suffer unprecedented pain, severe damage. The Abomination was no longer the opponent of the angry Hulk, but now that the blood was flowing, and after being pierced by a bone spur, the Abomination was even more unbearable. One arm was completely crippled, and he could only barely rely on the other arm for defense. Under the violent bombardment, his whole body will soon be injured and crumbling. If it continues, he will be in a desperate situation in a short time. The battle is coming to an end, the hatred has one arm, and the head is also being slammed. After being blocked by the Hulk, several consecutive heavy blows made his brain roar, his skull was almost cracked, and the dark green blood in his mouth don't spray like money. The broken teeth and internal organs are mixed with the blood and sprayed out, which looks extremely miserable. Who would have thought that the Abomination that was so fierce and invincible just now, but after a while, was completely reversed by the Hulk, and he could only struggle to the death. After the Hulk fell into anger, he didn't hold back every time he attacked, and all the steel, earth and rocks he caught greeted the Abomination. From time to time, he would think of the sound of bones breaking, which made people creepy. Medicine is hard to save. The battle ended so soon. Lin Yu saw the rise of the pure physical battle between the Hulk and the Abomination, which was very exciting, with a strong sense of impact and visual impact, which made Lin Yu excited, but now the battle ended too quickly, which made him feel unsatisfied, a feeling of Suddenly, Lin Yu had a flash of inspiration, and there was a mass of tumbling black matter in his hand. It was the venom he had subdued some time ago. It led to death, and it has shrunk a circle not long after now, and its activity has decreased a lot, but due to Lin Yu's powerful strength, it has nothing to do. Go, possess that beaten monster, and let me see a good show. Lin Yu untied the force field arranged on Venom, and ordered to Venom. Unlocking the force field attached to the body, the Venom immediately became active. It sensed it when the Hulk was fighting the Abomination, and now it received Lin Yu's order, and it couldn't wait. Although the Abomination is not as good as the Hulk, but through symbiosis, can also allow the Venom to absorb enough required substances. The black sphere exploded and turned into a mass of violently tumbling liquid matter, falling directly from the top floor of the building. At the same time, the Venom was still adjusting its position with the resistance of the air, like gliding. The wooden pen is just the dying Abomination that was pressed to the ground and hammered by the Hulk. Snapped. A mass of liquid black matter fell from the sky, just landing on the body of the abhorrence. In the dusty battlefield surrounded by ruins, it did not attract any attention. But next second, squeak squeak, a strange and sharp scream sounded, and the Venom spread rapidly, quickly covering other parts of the Abomination's body, and at the same time let out a hearty scream. Seeing the black liquid substance spreading from all over the Abomination's body, the Hulk was taken aback. The scream was a little sensitive, and at the same time, he took a few steps back, staring at the Abomination that was completely wrapped in black matter in front of him. Roar! Seeing this scene seemed to touch Hulk's memory. He had been revived by Venom before and turned into Blackened Hulk. The involuntary feeling was very uncomfortable. Now he felt the breath of Venom, which made him even more angry and violent in an instant. The aura on his body rose again, like a ferocious beast waking up. And with the Hulk's anger upgrade, the moment the violent momentum rose, the black venom had completely wrapped the dying abomination. After being symbiotic with the venom, the body of the abomination immediately glows with powerful vitality. This is also one of the abilities of the venom. It can greatly improve the vitality and recovery ability of the symbiotic host. As long as the key parts are not fatally attacked, they can be restored repeatedly. Come over. Feeling the rapid recovery of his body, a gleam appeared in the eyes of hatred. Although he didn't know what happened to his body and what the black substance appeared on his body, a strong sense of power filled his body. The feeling of being stronger let the hatred regain confidence, facing the enemy Hulk, as long as he still has a breath. It will never stop fighting. However, the confidence in the hatred has just been restored, and another consciousness has taken over in his brain. When the negative ability of the venom is helping him recover his body functions, it also invades quietly, arousing all the hatred in the hatred, making him almost instantly he lost his mind and turned into a monster controlled by venom. Lin Yu was on the top floor of the building, and witnessed that the venom brought the dying abomination back to life in just a short moment, and the aura was almost twice as strong as before, which made him feel better, and felt that it was really right to subdue the venom's choice. The black liquid condensed into armor with spikes, completely enveloping the body of the loathsome. The head of the loathing coexisted with the venom, and could no longer see its true colors, turning into a huge and ferocious monster, with the corners of its mouth cracked to the base of its ears, and its mouth full of ferocious fangs. Fang let out a rampant roar, and the bone spurs in the loathsome body continued to grow, becoming more ferocious and sharp, making him look like he was covered in spikes as a whole, and the cold light shining on these spikes made people have no doubt that as long as stabbed, can definitely break through all defenses. Wrapped in the armor made of venom, the figure of the abomination looks a little thinner, but it is more shocking and lethal. In front of him, stimulated by the aura of the abomination, the size of the Hulk also grows again. The anger of the Hulk reached an unprecedented level. The Hulk's height exceeded 3 meters, and he stepped on it heavily, making the ground tremble. Not to mention anything else, but his weight of tons is already quite terrifying. Looking at the transformed venom abomination, the Hulk was not afraid. He stomped heavily on the ground with huge amounts of bare feet, earth and rocks splashed, and he roared terrifyingly towards the venom abomination. Roar! The sound waves were powerful, setting off a large amount of earth and rocks, sweeping towards the venomous hatred, and the hatred that had been stimulated by the venom with all its potential, also roared, and the strong sound waves collided on the battlefield between the two, triggering a substantial explosion. Boom! This time, the power of both of them has been raised to unprecedented heights. The Hulk used the original power to stimulate a powerful force with endless anger. The abomination was symbiotic with the venom, and got part of the power of Spider-Man and the Hulk. Anger transformed into strength, also reaching the strongest state. The collision of two formidable and frightening auras caused shocking waves, like the tip of a needle against a wheat awning, and it is about to explode. A building with a height of more than 10 stories had already suffered a lot, and most of the load-bearing walls on the ground floor were broken. Now, under the impact of the roar of the two, it finally overwhelmed and collapsed in one direction. Boom! The collapse of a building triggered a chain reaction, affecting all the blocks where the Hulk and the abomination fought. The high-rise buildings collided continuously, like dominoes, and all the surrounding buildings were affected, collapsing or tilting continuously. The building where Lin Yu was standing was no exception. A tall building tilted and hit the building directly, causing the whole building to vibrate violently. The faint golden mist surged, propping up Lin Yu's body, and directly suspended in the air. Oh, the destructive power is too strong. Seeing the ruins of several blocks, Lin Yu could only sigh, then his body disappeared, and he left in a hurry. When he reappeared, he was already on top of another building. With his eyesight, even a few blocks away, you can also clearly see the battle between the Hulk and the abomination. As a large number of buildings collapsed, the Hulk and the abomination launched at the same time as if there was some kind of tacit agreement. Two thunderous roars sounded, and both of them turned into phantoms, launching a rapid attack in the field. When the two reach their limits, not only the strength and physical strength are improved, but also the speed and responsiveness. The two huge amounts of figures are almost transformed into phantoms in the field. It is almost difficult for ordinary people to see the attacks of the two with the naked eye. Occasionally, a brief moment of pause between the two can be seen. However, Lin Yu's eyesight is Superman, but he can clearly capture the battle trajectory of the two. It can be seen that the two have no scruples to fight now. However, under the current strength of the others, these things are like paper. In the blink of an eye, the battlefield of the two moved, and they had passed through 4 or 5 blocks. In the blocks affected by their battle, all the buildings were spared, and all of them collapsed after the two rushed past, causing the sky to be filled with smoke and dust. Everywhere is engulfed in flames. Because the Venom had possessed the Hulk before and copied part of the Hulk's ability, so now the Abomination has also obtained part of the Hulk's anger evolved ability as the battle continues. His attack power is also slowly increasing, so it has always been on the same level as the Hulk, but as long as the Hulk's anger increases, his attack power will increase without an upper limit. It is foreseeable that after the Hulk's anger rises again, even if it is with the help of Venom, the Abomination may be difficult to contend with. Lin Yu, who was watching the battle with great interest, raised his brows, and several breaths coming rapidly from a distance caught his attention. These breaths coming at such a high speed, all carried powerful energy fluctuations. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.